Am I the asshole for giving my ex-girlfriend her tickets for Taylor Swift, but cancelling everything else? I'm working overseas right now, and I managed to get tickets for Taylor Swift in Singapore. The concert is this coming Saturday. My plan was to fly my girlfriend over for a little vacation. It's a long ways from Connecticut, so she was going to be staying for 10 days. I was clear, and I told her that we would have 2 weekends together as well as the evenings, but that I still had to work during the daytime. Last week, she called me and said that she was not okay with being long distance, and that after the concert, we were over. I asked for clarification. She said she would come for the 10 days and we could have fun, but that we were done. I can have fun without paying for it. I transferred her the one ticket and cancelled everything else. She called me to scream at me for cancelling the flight and hotel. I told her that I wasn't going to discuss it and hung up. I blocked her on everything. I'm hearing back from people at home that she has lost her shit. She's been bragging about getting to see Taylor Swift and the vacation. Now she's telling everyone that I cancelled the plans just out of the blue. I guess that is sorta true. I didn't discuss it with her before I made my decision and did what I did. I unblocked her long enough to offer to buy the ticket back if she wasn't going to use it. That conversation was unpleasant and involved a lot of profanity. The upshot was she would rather let it go to waste than let me have it. Her friends have been defending her and calling me an asshole. My position is that I would feel like a John flying her over for fun. In the comments, No Contribution 9322 says, "Not the asshole. But why did you give her the ticket when you had paid for it? Should have kept it and taken someone else. She was just using you as a sugar guardian. Hopefully you find someone that you deserve soon." OP says, "It was a gift. I know it's stupid, but I promised her that ticket." You're a good dude. Don't let crazy tell you otherwise. Not the asshole for cancelling all the expenses paid vacation, but you're the asshole to yourself for wasting the ticket by sending it to her. OP says, "The ticket was a birthday gift." What in the world did she expect pre-dumping you before her trip? If you're going to be a gold digger, then at least be a smart gold digger. That's my thoughts with this. Eras tour tickets are not cheap, much less adding international flights and hotels. I know that it would be even shittier to pretend to still be into him for the 2 weeks that she's there, but if she wanted the vacation that bad, she should have sucked it up for 2 weeks and then broken up with him when she got home. Terrible and shitty to use him like that, and she definitely did him a favor. But like you said, be a smart gold digger. Not the asshole. Really bizarre behavior, and it seemed like she was trying to use you. I mean, paying for flights across continents ain't cheap, so there's that angle. I just don't see why she would fumble that opportunity by telling you before the trip and not on the trip towards the end. Her mistake saved you in the end. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Why did she tell him this now instead of after the concert? Maybe she's not the brightest bulb. Or maybe she didn't want to feel guilty about taking the trip under false pretenses and assumed that fun would be motivating enough for OP. And now, onto the update. So my ex sold me back her ticket at face value. She couldn't find anyone interested in paying for her flight and hotel over. I didn't want to see Taylor Swift, but it was easy to sell a pair of tickets for a nice bit of change. I wish I had more to tell. I wish I could say that I went to the concert and met a lovely woman that my ex sold the ticket to. I wish I could say that my ex flew out on her own dime to win me back at the concert. None of that would be true. I made some money selling something that I bought for a woman that I thought I was going to marry. I'm glad that I found out what sort of person she really is before I made that mistake. Sorry that this isn't more exciting, and thanks to everyone for helping me see my way through this. In the comments, Icy Growth says, "That's a great ending. You didn't get effed over for life, you made money, and got a life experience for the next round. If you ask me, you did great. Chin up." Hey, this isn't just some story, this is your life. I'm just happy that you stood up for yourself and are sticking to your guns. Girl, keep your mouth shut for 10 days. How hard is that? Well, she didn't want to have sex with him, I'm betting. Some of the commenters on the original post think that she wanted him to beg and take off work to try to woo her back. I mean, my daughter is a Swiftie. I guarantee she could keep her mouth shut for 100 days if it meant seeing Taylor Swift. Who gives a pre-breakup warning to someone and then expects the person to still provide an all-expense-paid trip? A quick little, just so you know, we have 10 days before we aren't dating anymore. She's out of her mind. If I were him, I would have told everyone that she admitted to using me for a free trip and concert, and then planned to break up that same trip. Am I the asshole for ruining my mum's engagement party after she abandoned me when I was 11? I, 17 male, have a strained relationship with my mum, 35 female, after an incident that happened about 6 years ago. My mum was super strict and a helicopter parent, so we fought a lot over my grades and the trouble that I got into at school. She had essentially abandoned me, signing over custody to my dad after I had told her something along the lines of, "I hate you, and I wish I lived with my dad." Typical things an angsty preteen says to their parents, but that fight seemed to have broken her, and she cried before dropping me off at my dad's apartment. I thought that it wouldn't be a big deal, and I would just see her the next day after she proved her point, but she left me there. After that, things got essentially worse for me. My grades dropped, and I kept getting into trouble at school, almost to the point where I was kicked out. My dad never had job security, so money was tight. His girlfriend also wasn't fond of me, saying I was dumped on them. I wanted to go back to live with my mum. I thought to apologize, but my mum had essentially moved on with her life. She went back to college to get her degree and was always studying, and later on was focused on her new work. On the weekends I would get to see her, things were tense between us. She tried so hard to be the fun parent, eating takeout and leaving me to do what I wanted, but it was so unlike her, and we became more estranged. 3 years ago, she started dating Paul, 39 male, a widower with 2 daughters, 9 female and 13 female. She started treating his daughters like they were her own, and they started calling her mummy, which irritated me. Eventually, they moved into my mum's house and changed my childhood bedroom into one of the daughters' rooms. I was livid when I found out, saying some mean things about the girls, and refused to go back there for my mum's weekends. But she was confused on why I was acting this way. Because of this fight, she thought that I wouldn't be attending the engagement party when she announced that her and Paul would be getting married. And besides, she didn't want me there to ruin the perfect picture of her new family. So I made it a point to go for the party and called her out on her behavior. I wanted to confront her and tell her that she wouldn't have to bother with me after I go off to college, but I may have taken it a bit too far. Everyone kept talking about how Paul's daughters were like her children and how it would be when she had more kids, and it snapped something in me. I called her a horrible parent and told her she was trying to replace me with the little brats after she had abandoned me, along with some other insults that I don't really remember. Paul kicked me and my dad out, saying that I was an asshole for making his fiancée and girls cry and ruining the engagement party. He said that I won't be allowed to the wedding unless I called and apologized. I may have taken it a bit too far, but my dad agrees that she had it coming after she abandoned a young child at an age when I needed my mother. So, am I the asshole, and should I apologize? In the comments, Neo Geshel says, "This is above the pay grade of this sub. You are a child, and she is an adult, and your mother. She needs to do the emotional work of creating the conditions for your reconciliation. If she can't, then you need to focus on your growth and figure out how to establish yourself in life. It doesn't sound like she's going to be coming through on that, so you're on your own. This is of far bigger significance than whether you are the asshole or not. Take care of yourself, not the asshole." OP says, "Thanks for saying so. Kiddo, I'm sorry this happened. What she did was selfish, and she hasn't made up for what she did. You are still young and can learn from her mistakes. Your best course of action will be to succeed in life. Be the best whatever you want to be. Find happiness. Don't let her crush you. The happier you are, the easier it will be to forget about someone who only cares for herself. And like others have said, therapy. You probably have CPTSD. Traumatized people often react poorly, but she caused the trauma. Someone already said that this is above the sub's pay grade. It's very obvious that you have some deep emotional issues towards your mum and you feel abandoned. Ultimately, she's the parent and she has to take the majority of the responsibility for the way that your relationship has turned out. But quite frankly, I think you really need to take a look at the role that you played in this as well. You acknowledged that you hurt her feelings when you told her that you hated her. You just assumed that you would see her later. Did you apologize to her? You said she tried to do fun things with you in the weekends, but you also said that you didn't like that either. At no point do you actually say that you apologized to her at all. Instead, it seems like your behavior escalated and you continued to lash out. Your mum could have possibly tried harder, but it seems like she's damned if she does and damned if she doesn't. You have made your feelings of hurt and resentment and abandonment very clear in this post. At what point do you acknowledge that your mum is also a person with feelings and that you may have continuously, without apology, hurt her too? I'm not sure if I want to call you an asshole, but I don't want to call your mum one either. No assholes here? I would say everyone sucks here because all their actions weren't great. I think therapy and self-reflection can help. The only person who I feel like was making a bad decision decisively is OP. Because it's his story and his own admission that he never apologized, and her quote-unquote helicopter parenting was just being a good parent. But he's a teenager. I don't have a solid grasp on what the mum did. Her feelings were hurt by OP's own admission, and she made several attempts to repair the relationship. OP sounds like he just didn't listen or respect anyone's authority, and I don't really know what else she was supposed to do when he kept making it clear that he didn't want to be around her. OP was 11 when they had that fight. It's kind of unfair to expect foresight and adult thinking from a preteen. 11 is a child in middle school. Middle schoolers are hardly known for rational thinking or impulse control. But he was 17 when he pulled this most recent stunt, which includes attacking and insulting kids who had nothing to do with the issue. He's old enough to know that it's wrong and still wants to take minimum responsibility for that. He's old enough to revise his thinking and is choosing not to. Hi, child of divorced parents here. From the bottom of my heart, you're the asshole. Trying to help your child and being strict with them after they get bad grades and get in trouble at school is normal. You didn't like the consequences of your actions, so you lashed out, and you got exactly what you wanted. She was too strict and helicoptering? You hated it. She was the chill weekend parent? You hated it. You didn't want to live with her? Well, then you got what you wanted. Deal with your actions and stop blaming her for them, and please, either apologize and change your tone, or leave that woman and her family alone. You say that she was a helicopter parent. Your definition for this is that she would check your homework to see if it's done or right, make sure that you pay attention in class, that you went to bed on time and ate healthy food, and limited your access to the internet. Mind you, all of this is what we call good parenting, not helicopter parenting. You started acting out, grades dropping, getting into trouble, all at the age of 10 to 11, which is honestly young. Not even a preteen bothered by raging hormones to be acting out so much that it caused issues with your mum. Then you say that there was one incident where you yelled and insulted her and demanded that you want to stay with your dad, to which he obviously had a breakdown, shut down mentally, and then let you go live with your dad. People don't break down and shut down over one incident. A parent, who by your description was loving and attentive, doesn't do a complete switch from one incident, which is why I do not believe you that this was one incident. I believe this was a pattern of toxic behavior that you never worked on, growing worse, which is obvious from how you tore in like a raging bull into the engagement party. I never ever in my life ever told my parents that I hated them, not even during my teen angst phase, not even when I had bad grades and was grounded. So no, that is not a normal thing to do either. She broke down and decided to let you have what you wanted, a life with your dad. You say, I was just a stupid kid, I didn't mean it. Well, unfortunately, we can't take some stuff back. You even admit that you never apologized for saying all those horrible things you said to her. You had all the time in the world to reflect on the venom that you told her and say, "Mum, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean the words that I said." On a side note, very interesting how you say that your mum abandoned you, but you don't act like your dad did. I mean, she now had the same custody that your dad had before, yet he never abandoned you? He was the weekend dad before. Why is your dad allowed to have a long-term partner, but not your mum too? Very spicy and interesting questions. I think my gut reaction on this one, given these commenters enlightening me as they have, I'd say that there is a lot more going on here than what OP is letting on. I think there is a lot more fights, resentment, and just shit that has been happening this kid's whole life. Hard to say if you can blame a 10 to 11-year-old for those actions when you don't know exactly what their environment was like and what led them to being like that. I'm gonna say no assholes here, though I can absolutely see the everyone sucks here and you're the asshole judgments. And now onto update 1. There's a lot going on here, and I haven't had the time to look through everything, so I still haven't decided on what to do. But to answer some questions, 1. Helicopter parenting. I mentioned some of the things that my mum did, but it didn't give the entire picture. Some people say that it was just usual parenting, but it feels so constricting, and it was very different from when I was at my dad's. I also wasn't the smartest kid out, and sometimes it felt like I was being punished for that. 2. Did we have arguments before? My mum and I were prone to screaming matches if I didn't immediately do what she said. No, I never hit her, it was mostly shouting. 3. Did I apologize? No, I didn't. I know that would be my single biggest regret. I don't know if that warrants the rest of what happened, or if it would have changed anything. 4. What was the trouble at school? It mostly had to do with phasing out or losing my patience. I got into a couple of fights with other kids who teased me on my home situation, but it was nothing serious. As mentioned, I'm not academic, so there was always trouble with that. 5. Therapy? I spoke to someone when I was younger, and my parents had me see the school counselor 2 years ago, but I find it hard to talk to other people. I'm also on meds, which were supposed to help with my moods. 6. Dad or mum situation? My parents separated when I was a baby. My dad is 40 and used to work in construction until he got injured and could no longer pay child support. When my mum transferred custody, she began to pay support. I'm with my dad full-time and my mum on weekends when I feel like going. Winter breaks, my mum takes me out of state to Grands where we stay with the rest of the family. I can do the math. I know how old my mum was when she had me and that I basically ruined her life, so there's no need to point that out. There is an overwhelming amount of attention on this post that is giving me mixed messages. I regret posting this because of how confused it has gotten me about my parents and childhood, but I do appreciate the support and advice, especially from other people who had similar issues. I will try and do another update when I figure out what to do. In the comments, TaylorJade14 says, "You have a surprising amount of grace for 40-year-old dad, given how little you've shown for your 35-year-old mum. Somehow more grace is given to the older dads instead of the younger mums. It makes no sense that OP is 1 year younger than his mum was when she had him. She put off college to raise him, and he is still this whiny about paying the consequences for his admitted bad behavior. He thought about apologizing for his words because he thinks kids verbally abuse parents all the time, and they don't take it to heart. Yeah, it's mind-boggling. Also, note how it seems that he was either A, on his better behavior for his dad and dad's girlfriend, or B, his dad and girlfriend didn't care as much about him as his mum did. He admits that his grades got worse since he started to live with his dad. Considering his dad doesn't work and doesn't give a shit, I wonder who will give this young man money. My bet is it's going to be his horrible, deeply hated mother." So your 23-year-old dad gets an 18-year-old pregnant, stops paying child support, allows his girlfriend to be mean to you, doesn't get involved when your grades drop, and you get in trouble at school, and the person that you as a 17-year-old are mad at is your mother? Who tried to teach you good habits, ensure that you were educated, stayed in your life even after you told her that you hated her, and then tried to be more fun and less strict on the weekends when she was with you? And you're mad enough that you, again at 17 years old, not 11 years old, made it a point to go for the party and call her out on her behavior. And your dad again, who stopped paying child support and allowed his girlfriend to be mean to his child, is telling you she, of all people, had it coming. You're the asshole, and so is your dad and his girlfriend. And if you're so angry that you don't even remember what you said, that is extremely concerning. Okay, maybe it's time for me to change my no assholes here opinion to you're the asshole, because yeesh, when you put it like that, it's pretty bad, isn't it? Oh my god, OP is not beating the allegations. And now, on to the final update. So, a lot has happened. I never expected this post to get as much attention with so many mixed reactions, and honestly, it confused me to say the least. While this forum was blowing up, I had to go to school like normal. It's been a few weeks since their engagement party, and a kid who was there had been relentless, mocking me for what happened. I thought that he would eventually let it go, but yesterday when he brought it up again, I lost my cool and got into a physical fight with him. He was given detention, but I was suspended. The school called my mum and got Paul instead. Since she was in a meeting, he came and got me. Things were awkward in the car ride, and we didn't say a word to each other until he asked me if I was going to apologize to my mum. I told him I didn't even want to go to his stupid wedding. Paul was confused when I said this, and told me that my mum had gotten mad at him for saying that I couldn't attend, and that she knew that I wouldn't apologize if they told me to because I was stubborn. He said she had called my dad weeks ago and said that I could go because she really wanted me to be there, and my dad said that he would talk to me. I don't know why, but when I heard this, I burst out in tears, embarrassingly enough. I don't know if it was the suspension or reading all the comments, but I really couldn't hold it in anymore. It took me way too long to stop, and Paul was really freaked out, so he parked somewhere and tried to calm me down. I ended up telling him everything, about what happened when I was a kid, and how I felt about my mum. I also confessed that I wished that she would yell at me or scold me for my outburst, because it felt like she didn't care enough and just hated me for what I said. It's effed up, I know. I thought if I ever repeated what I wrote on the post to another person, they would think that I was human garbage. But he just listened to me and let me get everything off my chest. I guess that's what being a girl dad is. Surprisingly, he didn't blame me. In fact, it was the opposite. He said he understood me. He works with her, so he knew that my mum was a tough woman, and he had never seen her cry before until that day, and was unsure about how to approach her after, so he didn't blame me for not knowing how to talk to her after what happened when I was a child. He didn't give me details, but he assured me that my mum didn't hate me, and the situation is more complicated than what I know. Paul said that I shouldn't bear all the blame, and if I was comfortable, maybe myself and my mum could go speak to the therapist that he saw after his wife had passed. He was mad at my dad, though. Apparently this was not the first time that my dad had said that he would talk to me about something, and just didn't. Paul suspected my dad wanted to get me to have another outburst at the wedding because he still was somewhat resentful towards my mother. I don't know how to take this because, while my dad didn't really like my mum, I don't think he would actually do something like that. Either way, I think I owe to myself and my mum to at least try and reconcile and deal with my trauma so I could let go of my anger towards her. I at least apologized to Paul's girls. My dad wasn't home, so I spent the rest of the day at my mum's. The 9-year-old forgave me almost instantly. Like she didn't actually care, and asked me about dinosaurs for the rest of the evening. The 13-year-old is still pretty mad, but mostly because Paul had her give up her new room and share with her sister. I tried to say that I was okay if she took back the room. I wasn't, but it only seemed right to give it to her after what I did, but Paul said that they'll make a plan when they remodeled. I knew I needed to apologize to my mum as well, but that seemed to be just so much harder. I know you guys recommended writing a letter, but I didn't really have enough time, nor did I know what I was going to say yet. There is these flower bushes in our garden though, and I have a vivid memory of when I was a kid. My mum getting mad when I destroyed one, only to forgive when I had given her the flowers from them. It's a bit pathetic for her grown child to give her weeds because he couldn't get a word out, but I think the gesture meant the same for her like it did for me. She finally asked me if I was better living at my dad's, and honestly, I don't know. I know you guys don't think the best of him, and things did seem to be worse when I stayed with him, but he was a decent dad, and I didn't want to just lose him like I did with my mom. She said that she would speak to him after our meeting with the school on Monday for the family therapy, and if I was open to the idea of staying with her some nights during the week too. As of now, Paul had spoken to her, and she had already made the appointment for us to see the therapist next week. She also spoke to me about anger management classes too, and said that she would go with me if that's what I wanted. I honestly don't know what's going to happen at school, if the therapy would work for us, and if I would ever be able to truly let go of my built-up resentment, but I feel like everything is going to be okay. Thanks for all the comments, even the horrible ones. It got me thinking just a bit. I will never be posting on Reddit again, but I do appreciate having the space to find the words to say what I needed to, and everyone who shared their deep and sometimes dark stories that made them relate to my relationship. I hope that things turn out okay for you too. In the comments, damn OP, Paul is a good guy. Sounds like dad is a toxic influence. I think mum is fed up. Hope she can go to therapy with OP. Yeah, Paul has a lot more empathy than OP's own dad, and is trying to give him a broader view without getting him in the middle of his mum and dad's issues. It sounds like OP was being weaponized by his dad and was unaware of it. He holds so much resentment against his mum and gives his dad a pass even though he bears as much responsibility as OP's mum to help him become a well-adjusted, independent adult. It sounds like mum was trying to do more for OP, like paying child support, than OP's dad ever did. I hope that OP can get some awareness and realize how his perception has likely been warped and work towards having a healthier relationship with his mum and new step family. It sounds like he's really missing out by driving his mum away. All of this, just the fact that OP's father supported his son's outburst at the engagement party, that was cruel what OP did. It seemed like his dad patted him on the back afterwards and said that she deserved it. OP said that he hated his mother and wanted to live with his father, so she did what he wanted. She didn't abandon him, but his dad twisted it that way. This kind of felt like he lost his mum after criticizing her openly. He'd be the perfect victim of parental alienation, since he'll probably not dare risk his second parent by even looking at them negatively after what he experienced with his mum. I wouldn't be surprised if the parental alienation occurred long before mum gave up primary custody. Dad was the fun parent who allowed OP to stay up late, skip his homework, and eat junk food. That's why he kept telling his mum that he hated her so much and wanted to go live with his dad. He figured that his mum was bluffing when she said okay and got the custody arrangement changed over. He didn't apologize. He didn't ask to come back home. He didn't tell her that he missed her helicopter parenting because at least he knew that she cared about him. She just gave him what he wanted. 2 fun parents and no expectations. I'm going to speculate here a lot. I bet when she did that, she may have thought after a few weeks that he would learn and understand. But maybe Dad used on his favor how stubborn both OP and his mum are, and how they're not able to communicate to maybe say to the mum, he does not want to go back, and she does not want you back. Maybe Dad was getting child support for OP as he got full custody. But of course, I don't know anything, and this is just absurd assumptions from my part. 100% she was paying child support according to OP, and he admitted that his dad didn't because he was injured and couldn't work. I'm sure that OP's dad did some under-the-table work to put a roof over his head and food in his belly, but nothing on the record for child support. It is hard to be on his mum's side in this. I can empathize with her. Dad sounds like a toxic instigator. She had to raise an unruly kid all by herself from a very young age, and it really read like she finally snapped and found an excuse to dump her kid. OP was absolutely right about that. What a traumatic thing to go through. She'll come back tomorrow, I'm sure of it. She didn't just leave me. Mum? What really got me is that nobody at any point took the kid to therapy or even tried to empathize with him. They just coped until they couldn't cope anymore. This story sounds so real too. That's what's heartbreaking. Poor kid just wanted someone to understand him. At least he found that in Paul at the end. I always take these stories with a grain of salt, but this one hurt my heart. This one very much so feels like a teenager lashing out and not knowing how to understand any of this with a mum who doesn't or can't comprehend how to handle him and a father that weaponizes him. His bio parents really let him down. His stepdad is a good man, and I really hope that he stays as positive influence in OP's life. Our next post is by user InaBina1, and it doesn't have an update, but I liked it, so I'm still going to include it, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for not letting my girlfriend into the bathroom?" I was taking a shower, and in the middle of it, my girlfriend suddenly knocks on the door and pulls the handle several times. With the water running, it was difficult to hear what she said. She then proceeds to turn off the lights in order to get my attention. I shout that once I'm done, I will open the door, but she doesn't want to turn the light back on until I open the door. I get a bit irritated about the situation since I can't really see anything and I'm nearsighted, on top of it being pretty dark. She wanted to go work out and brush her teeth beforehand. After I was done, we got in a bit of an argument since I said that it was unnecessary to turn off the lights while I was in the shower and that she could have just waited until I was done. She starts ranting about wanting to head off, so she's at the gym before a certain time, since then the treadmills would be taken, and so on. I just felt that it was a bit unnecessary, and now she's headed off while the mood wasn't particularly at its best. Am I the asshole for not opening the door right away? Edit. For people wondering why I locked the door and think it's weird, the reason for it is that I just value my privacy. I don't like people running in while I'm showering. Of course, it doesn't do anything if she sees me naked since she's my girlfriend. It's more of a personal preference. We both do it. In the comments, Walking in the Sand 23 says, "She created a hazard by turning off the lights and leaving you in the dark in the shower. Tell her that it's not okay and she could have waited 5 minutes to brush her teeth. Next time she's in the shower, do the same thing to her. Maybe then she'll get a clue." OP says, "I told her this, and I said that if she would have been in the shower, I would have just waited until she was done. I feel like this is just common practice. It's Sunday, and the gym is open until the evening, so she's not really in a rush either. It's not about what you would do, it's about how you felt about what she did. Keep it to that." Normally, I would say this is true, but in this case, it is about what OP, or more accurately, a reasonable person, would or would not do. This commenter is right. She created a hazard. Showers are dangerous. So many injuries happen in showers, and the injuries that happen in there are exacerbated due to the slippery conditions impairing your ability to grab, balance, and compensate for a fall, as well as the general hardness of every surface around you if you do fall. Bathing is also widely, I presume in OP's culture based on the post, as it is in mine, considered to be a small human privacy that people are entitled to. Her desire to brush her teeth before leaving is not a priority, unless OP is taking 30-minute showers. My response to this would be a genuine come-to-Jesus sit-down with my partner about boundaries, privacy, respect, priorities, and the nature of our entire relationship. We aren't squabbling siblings. We aren't children. I will not be manipulated over something as asinine as brushing your teeth before the gym. And if that's how the relationship is going to carry on, I want zero part in it. Even if OP is taking 30-minute showers, my showers, unless I'm going out and pressed for time, are around 20 to 25 minutes, between the color-correcting shampoo and mask and whatever shaving needs to happen. In my entire adult life, I think there was only one disturbance from a human while I was showering. I have cats, they always disturb in the bathroom, shower, etc. Ex-hubby rushing in because he had to pee desperately and had been holding it in while the traffic was inordinately slow. Otherwise, when someone was preparing to go shower, we'd normally see that, tell each other, etc., and say, "Mind if I pop in to grab XYX, or pee, or whatever quick action, as I'll be leaving before you'd normally get out, if it was needed." 100% not the asshole, but you guys definitely need to discuss how sharing a small place actually works. Not the asshole. She's extremely childish. I get the light thing, but it crosses over from playful to annoying when she leaves it off. Anywho, if it's an isolated incident, then it's all good. If this is the norm, then you're a saint for putting up with it. OP says, "That's exactly what I told her too. It's okay to joke about it on some occasions, but leaving it off when I'm in the middle of a shower isn't something that I appreciate. I feel like her arguments kind of annoy me sometimes, especially since she's trying to argue why she would be in the right for doing so. Honestly, it's not really okay for messing about. I'm probably sensitive from the number of times that I've hurt myself in harmless situations, but I'm nearsighted too, and turning the lights off on someone in the shower can go so wrong. Ask any paramedic. Not the asshole anyway, but also just not a fun way to mess with someone because of how quickly things can escalate when you're barefoot with reduced vision in a bathroom. Everyone sucks here. You should have turned the shower off for a second to listen to what she wanted and decide if it's a reasonable request. She might have had a bad stomach, or really needed to use the toilet, or had some urgent need. I also don't think that it's unreasonable to ask to brush your teeth whilst your partner is showering if you're waiting to leave the house. However, turning the light switch off was an asshole move. You could have easily slipped and hurt yourself since you say that it was pretty dark in there. It was not an emergency of such proportion that this was a reasonable response to you making her wait. But I think you both acted poorly and inconsiderate of each other here. Am I the asshole for leaving a dinner party after a girl sat on my husband's lap? I am still so shook with everything, so sorry for my rambling. My husband Jake and I have been married for 3 years, and from the beginning, he was very close with his best friend's sister, Cindy, 18 female. Well, my husband would often talk about her and tell me about how he had seen her grow up throughout the years. Cindy is always very bubbly and seems very fond of Jake as well. I remember when we were dating, she would ask to come along on our dates a lot. I never really said anything, as I liked spending time with her as well. She was like a little sister to me. When we announced our engagement, she asked my husband to better not forget about her after being a married man and still hang out with her. Well, we got married, and I even made her my bridesmaid. Soon we moved to a different state and kind of lost contact. Now Jake's best friend came to stay with us for some time, and Cindy came along as well. The moment she saw us, the first thing she said was how hot my husband has gotten, and she was glad that he didn't look like those boring married men. Then throughout their stay, Cindy would just ignore my presence and would be way too close with Jake. I told Jake that it was looking a bit inappropriate and to ask Cindy to tone it down, but he said that Cindy is just a bit childish and is that way with everybody. Well, on their last day, we decided to host a dinner party for everybody. During the party, I was with Jake when Cindy came and told me, "Oh, I need to steal your husband for a while." And before I could say something, she grabbed Jake's hand and took him to play some games. I ignored it since it was their last day, but then throughout the dinner, she was getting way too close with Jake and would just drag him away whenever I would be around while giggling at me. When everybody sat at dinner, I sat beside Jake and Cindy came last. She then said, "Oh, there's no seats," and then just went and sat on my husband's lap. Everybody was surprised, and Jake said while laughing, "Cindy, stop acting like a child, come on. You're not a kid anymore." Cindy started laughing, saying that it was a joke, and got up and sat on the other seat while giggling at me. Yeah, I was so angry with the disrespect and with the fact that Jake was so cool with it. But I didn't want to say anything bad, so I excused myself and took my car and went out. About 1 hour later, Jake called me asking where I was. I told him that I was going to my friend's house and I'll come after Cindy has left. I know what I did was terrible, but I was so angry at that time that if I'd stayed there any longer, I would have probably started fighting or crying. I came the next day, and Cindy and her family had left. Jake was very pissed and said that I took things too far. I started crying and told him how everything made me feel. He said I was horrible to think such things about Cindy and that she was like his little sister. I told him that I was not doubting his intentions, but I was hurt by how disrespectful Cindy's behavior was, and he was enabling her by not saying anything. He started saying that I sound ridiculous and couldn't even take a joke, referring to the sitting on the lap incident. And I said, regardless, I don't want her in my house again. To top it off, Cindy sent a message saying that she was sorry about making me so insecure in myself, and that she would make sure to make me feel better. But I should not have left, as it was pretty childish and kind of spoilt the mood. It just felt so backhanded. I didn't reply anything to her. I just told my husband that he needs to maintain a distance with Cindy. He asked if I was giving him an ultimatum, and I said he was going so far as to disregard and disrespect my feelings for Cindy. This really rubbed my husband the wrong way, and he said since I have such disgusting thoughts in my mind, and I'm giving him an ultimatum anyways, then he might as well leave, because he cannot live with such an insecure person who has such disgusting thoughts about him. He packed a bag and left to go to his mother's place. I have tried apologizing numerous times, telling him how sorry I am for everything, but he's ignoring my texts and calls. Later, Cindy's brother texted me and called me a bunch of names to think like that about his sister, saying Jake should just leave me, and that a disgusting person like me deserves to be alone. I could not stop crying after that. I don't know how to fix this. Is there any way to even come back? Was I so wrong to deserve this? I don't know anymore. Edit, people who are asking for our ages, we are 25 years old, just a few months apart. In the comments, TopBit85 says, not the asshole. Your only mistake was apologizing to your husband, as if his accusations were fair. Agree, she had nothing to apologize for. Now her apology justifies their actions as making it seem like they did nothing wrong, but she did since she is apologizing. I would go as far as taking back the apology. Yup, everything she was upset about is invalidated. Every future upset is invalidated. Apologizing was OP's biggest mistake. Not the asshole. Your husband should care about making you uncomfortable. You pointed out that it was inappropriate, he blew it off up until the point that she sat in his lap and even has to say something. Not because he was upset, but because everyone was looking. He is disregarding his own encouragement of the behavior and gaslighting you to try and make it a you problem. He is a married man who is letting a young woman sit in his lap and intentionally disrespect his wife. You don't have a problem with Cindy, you have a problem with your husband. This level of disrespect to one's spouse is unacceptable. Yeah, as someone 5 years into a marriage, there are only 2 people that I really give a shit about, myself and my wife. There is no situation anymore that I care about making some friends and co-workers etc. feel awkward or uncomfortable instead of my wife. These posts always seem crazy when someone blows up at their spouse over, "You made my friend's sibling feel weird." Like, how could you possibly care about that over the feelings of the person that you spend 99% of your life with? I feel like if this was my husband, and some girl sat on his lap, regardless of me being there or not, he would have pushed her onto the ground. I can't even say that it's an age thing, because we started dating when we were undergrads in college, and he still would have reacted the same way then. This guy needs to have a lot more respect for his wife. Yeah, I would be willing to give my husband the benefit of the doubt if this happened to him, which it wouldn't, but the moment I say that it makes me feel disrespected, he would immediately do whatever it takes to make me feel better. The bigger red flag is not that OP's husband has some 18-year-old attention seeker flirting with him, but that when OP shared her feelings, he said that it was disgusting and left, then refused to take her calls. There will always be things in life that make you feel uncomfortable, and your partner may think that they are not big deals, but how he responds in those situations says a lot. A little sister? Then why didn't she sit on her brother's lap? That is weird, and it is disrespectful. Not the asshole. He is disregarding your feelings, perhaps counseling before divorce. A little sister that sits on his lap and thinks that he's sexy. I don't have a little sister, but I'm sure that I'd be weirded out if my sister sat on my lap, flirted with me, and told everyone how sexy I was. My brother, who was around 37 male at the time, had a similar issue with his wife's little sister, who was 17 years old and 8 years younger than wife. He viewed her as a kid and took her, along with their 3 kids, on a week-long family beach vacation. 3 days into the trip, my brother called a family meeting with wife and kid sister to discuss her behavior, which was Her hanging on and rubbing her body on him in the ocean and pools, sitting on his lap, trying to ride his shoulders in the water, and holding his hand to pull him where she wanted him to go to play and swim. He said that it was highly inappropriate, and that while she may have innocent intentions, he was uncomfortable with it. Furthermore, if she didn't stop, they would end the vacation early and go home, and he'd have no further contact with her. Little sister got mad initially, but later admitted that she had a kind of crush on him and didn't realize until he addressed the behavior that she was in fact flirting with him. She stopped, apologized, and was embarrassed. OP is not wrong and not the asshole. Husband needs to realize that, while Cindy may not have even admitted it to herself yet, this is exactly what is going on. This seems pretty serious, and I don't understand why OP did apologize to the husband in this instance. OP had nothing to apologize for. This is some deny, attack, reverse victim offender Davo going on right now. Absolutely not the asshole in this situation. I don't know how he convinced you that you are and how he manipulated the story to make you the bad guy, but damn. You deserve better, OP. I really don't like what he's been doing here at all. And now, onto the updates. Thank you all for responding, and people who gave me good advice in personal messages. I couldn't read all the comments, but now I know my feelings are valid and boundaries were crossed by Cindy. Now, during the dinner, there was Cindy, her brother Sean, and his girlfriend, and their cousin Derek, also a good friend of my husband, with his boyfriend. So I called Derek and asked about the situation and about what happened after I left. He was sympathetic and said that after I left, at first they thought that I would come back after some time. However, things were really awkward. But when I didn't come, Sean's girlfriend told Cindy that she was so disrespectful for doing that. Derek and his boyfriend also said the same thing. To this, Cindy started crying, saying they didn't have to corner her and attack her over a silly joke, that she didn't know that it would get so out of hand. She then left the room while crying. Jake didn't know what to say, and everybody left early the next day. Derek also said that Cindy has always had issues with boundaries, and when he introduced his boyfriend to everybody, Cindy would get too close and would joke that she was just checking if he was really gay. They were really uncomfortable with it as well, so Derek confronted her, to which Cindy rolled her eyes and said that they can't take a joke, and eventually stopped. This all sounds so bizarre. I don't know what's going on with Cindy. Sean's girlfriend also texted me saying that she was sorry for what happened. I told him how Sean's message was inappropriate, but she had no idea about the text, so I sent her a screenshot and asked her to tell Sean to not harass me again. She was very apologetic and said that she would talk to him. Now my mother-in-law called and asked what was going on, as Jake didn't tell her, and only said that we had an argument. I was a bit hesitant to tell, but eventually told her everything. She was furious at my husband. She said they will be coming over to have a talk. So yeah, I'm just waiting for them to arrive, and I'm really nervous. I don't know if what I did was wrong or right, but we will see. As for people saying that my husband is some pedo or they're having an affair, I know this is furthest from the truth. I never questioned his intentions, but what hurt me was a lack of respect from Cindy towards me. And now, onto the final update. This is for people who are still asking me about the update in private messages. So, my mother-in-law came with my husband, and well, the talk happened. There were a lot of things, but I'll try to summarize. Basically, Jake apologized to me first and tried to explain his point of view. He said that he was angry, A, because I left without saying anything for the whole night when he was literally trying to just diffuse the situation, and tried to laugh it off because it was so awkward, he didn't know what else to do. But instead of communicating, I just left him in that weird situation. He was meeting his friends after such a long time, and just wanted the dinner to be peaceful, and Cindy was going back anyways, and we would most likely never meet her again. B, he acknowledged that Cindy was indeed overstepping boundaries, but he didn't know how to bring it up since he has literally seen her growing up, and she is like a little sister to him. Also, she acts like that with everyone. He thought that it was just for a few days, and he wanted no drama during their stay, so he would just brush it off. He did acknowledge that he was wrong about not saying anything, though. See, he was already really worried and sad because how I just left with no explanations. Even after I came back, there was not one time that I asked how he felt. He was also very overwhelmed with everything and felt that I was accusing him for not doing anything when he literally pushed her off as politely as possible when she tried to sit on him. He felt as though I was attacking his character and even gave the ultimatum, which made him so sad as he felt as though I thought less of him. It wasn't about Cindy, but about how easy it was for me to question his sincerity. He said after that dinner that he was going to go extremely low contact with her anyways. D. He apologized for not speaking up about the disrespect that Cindy was showing towards me and for also leaving like that. Then after Jake had said everything, mother-in-law explained the situation from her perspective. She scolded him a lot as well. In short, she told him that as a husband, it was his responsibility to make me feel like I am his priority and that he's disappointed at me the moment that I had to come to ask him to establish boundaries. As a husband, it was his duty that I would never have to come to him about this in the first place. She also asked him how he would have felt had it been from a guy sitting on my lap, and he had no answer to that. She told him about how what I did was an eruption of suppressed feelings, and as a husband, it was his duty to go after me and never let me leave in the first place. There were a lot of things said by her, and Jake seemed to realize and sincerely apologized for his actions. She told him that if he ever pulled such a stunt ever again, then to not expect her to take him in. Later, she took me for a walk, and it was just the two of us, and there she explained some things to me as well. She said that she is sorry for everything, but told me that even at her house, Jake was distraught. He didn't tell her because he most likely knew that he was wrong too, but was overwhelmed about everything as well. She said she in no way is excusing her son's behavior, but would hope that I would forgive him. She also said that in no circumstances do I need to leave my house, as it was my house and my family. She said that I shouldn't be afraid to speak my mind if anything makes me uncomfortable, and to talk to her if Jake does something stupid again, and says that she will set him straight. She hoped we work it out, since she has seen our love for each other, and it would be sad to see us split up due to some disrespectful brats. Her words. She said she cannot have a say in our issues, but suggested that we should get counseling to understand each other better. She even bought ice cream for me. I know it's a bit childish, but she said sweet things work as a charm when people are upset. And well, she was right. Well, it was awkward at night. Jake came to our room and we didn't know what to say. After a while, we talked and both apologized to each other. However, I did tell him that I was angry at him for telling everything to Sean and was deeply hurt by the text he sent me. He said he didn't know what I was talking about, and I showed him the texts. He said he didn't tell Sean about our fight and only told him that he was at Mum's place. He called Sean and, well, it turns out that Sean told Cindy and told her how she went too far at the party. Then Cindy made this huge sob story about how I was passive-aggressive with her the whole time, how I would always try to question her character and act insecure and jealous. She even went on to say that I was always like that with her, even when she was a kid, and that I never liked her and always tried to manipulate people into thinking that I was an angel while she was an SLUT. Well, that made him angry to think about how I have been treating Cindy and that he sent those texts. Jake and I were baffled by such accusations, and he tried to explain to Sean how it wasn't true, but then Jake just let it be and decided to go no contact with Cindy and extremely low contact with Sean. Jake apologized again, and we just cuddled and slept. Well, Cindy is out of our lives for good now, and we've decided to go to counseling for better communication in the future. Let's see how everything goes in the future, but yeah, we are not getting divorced. I know a lot of you people wanted me to show Jake this post, but he was so sad and got scolded a lot already, so I decided to not show him for now. Maybe I will in the future. Sorry for all the rambling. Have a good day, people. Edit. I read that people saying we should be no contact with Sean too, and I felt that it would be best to let that friendship go as well. So I talked to my husband about it, and he agreed. So he sent a text to Sean saying that we could not be friends with him, and then blocked him as well. To clarify, I have somewhat forgiven Jake for his actions, but I told him that he needs to rebuild the trust that I had. so I know that I can rely on him in situations like that. He agreed, and we will be getting couples counseling as well. Thank you all for your advice. You all made me feel less lonely in all of this. In the comments, Malfass43 says, so basically, Cindy is confirmed to be a manipulative biatch. Brother is an ass too. Cindy, whoever she is, will be posting about this somewhere on Reddit and spinning the story to fit her narrative. She seems like the person to do that as well, lol. He's like a brother to me, and his wife is turning him against me. Yes, I always sit on my brother's laps, don't you? I love your mother-in-law. She is the hero of the story. I'm glad that it worked out. F Cindy. She knew what she was doing. Generally, it's a good update, except that it took a grown man having his mum yell at him to realize that it wasn't his wife's fault that she got mad that he let another woman paw all over him for days while he refused to set any boundaries. He wanted to blame you for being upset, blame you for saying something to him, and when nothing changed, blame you for walking out? If his mum weren't there, would he have taken any accountability at all? He made himself out to be the victim of Cindy and you until his mum intervened. He prioritized everyone's feelings but yours. That's messed up. I'm not sure what you apologized for. How hard would it have been for him to say, from day one, dude, your sister is being really inappropriate, it's making me uncomfortable, please talk to her before I have to get rude. When the bad friend pushed back, if I was all over her the same way that she is me, you'd punch me. And when that doesn't work, Cindy, you must stop harassing me in my home. You are no longer a child. This is inappropriate and disrespectful. I actually wonder if he's dumping so much on you because he can't admit to you or mummy how much he enjoyed it. Now he's staying friends with a guy that went off on you and then said that you were a cruel person for picking on his little sister? Counseling is good. Your husband growing up and respecting you and your marriage above others is a goal to work on. Communication is good. Him learning what boundaries are is good. She's right. If a man was behaving the same way with you, how would they like it? At what point do you stop apologizing for being perfectly reasonable and not wanting your husband to treat you like crap? If your mother-in-law has to drag your husband back and he can't actually apologize and clearly didn't want to be there, why would you take him back? This won't end well. The husband is such a terrible partner. Almost everyone at the dinner party, all his friend group, realized how wrong the situation was, but he didn't? And then when his wife comes home, he still flips it on her to the point that she thinks that she did wrong. He doesn't take responsibility until his own mother smacks some sense into him. That guy sucks and is way too slow to back his wife up. There is definitely going to be more problems like this in the future. In the husband's defense, he was low-key sexually assaulted and people often don't know how to react to that kind of thing. Like, if a guy that I viewed as a little brother randomly slapped my butt in front of my husband, I don't know what I'd do. I'm not saying that he reacted well here, but it feels a little too victim-blamey to act like he's irredeemable or a bad person for reacting poorly in the immediate aftermath of a very weird situation, especially because of the way that men tend to be socialized when it comes to sexual advances. Yeah, very much complicated and difficult situation, but I'm on board with that comment as well that says, why did she stay with a husband after he didn't want to be there? The math ain't mathing here. Like, it's good that you went completely no contact with these two people, but why did he have to be dragged through hell and high water to get here? Bless your mother-in-law's heart for standing up for you and forcing this, and not being a just-no mother-in-law like we've seen in the past. But yeah, he clearly didn't want to be there, he didn't actually apologize, he can't actually apologize. Why? Why not just, take a break, take a breather, end things potentially? I don't understand the sunk cost fallacy here. It's just not a good time. I hope there is another update that smooths this out, but it's not looking so good right now, OP. Oh my god. And our next post, of course, does not have an update, but I liked it because this is some good drama. And it's by user NoiseHot3537, titled, Am I the asshole for saying just don't come to my stepmom when she and my dad told me she didn't want to attend my high school graduation with my mum? For some background, My parents divorced when I, 18 male, was 3 because my dad was having an affair with my stepmom. My mum and stepmom were work rivals and had a strong dislike for each other even before the affair. There has always been speculation that this is why my stepmom willingly became the other woman, because she disliked my mum. I was aware of this, and not because of my parents, but because of drama that would kick off with my dad's side of the family, and I was present for some of my dad's relatives' speculations about this. My parents did not get along after the affair, and tensions were high whenever my mum and stepmom were in the same room. My stepmom had 3 pregnancies that ended in miscarriage. The first 2 were, I guess, typical/normal miscarriages, but the third one caused my stepmom a lot of medical issues, and that led her to being infertile. So she and my dad never got to have a living child together. After the third miscarriage, my stepmom wanted me around because she wanted to feel like a parent, and she wanted to know that she would still have me. She and my dad asked my mum if they could extend their time with me, and my mum laughed in her face and told her that she didn't care what she had been through and that she would not let me be used as a band-aid. My stepmom argued that she deserved compassion for what she was going through, and it would be good for me to get that little extra attention and love since I wasn't ever going to have siblings. My mum told her she'd never have compassion for her and didn't feel sorry for her at all. She told her she didn't deserve to be a mum after taking part in the end of my stability within my family. She did blame my dad too, but that has never been focused on as much by my dad and stepmom or his family. After that, my mum and stepmom were never in the same place together. They had third parties take care of exchanges of me until I was old enough to hop out of a car and into the home that I was returning to. Once they realized that I knew details of what happened, my dad and stepmom were vocal about my mum being cruel and hurtful to my stepmom, and that was why they weren't ever in the same room together. A few times I picked up on their desire for me to hate my mum for them, but I don't. I try to stay neutral, which my mum encourages, but if I have to pick, like with this, I'm #Team Mum all the way. I'm graduating from high school in a couple of months, and my dad and stepmom brought up that my stepmom doesn't feel like she should be around my mum and does not want to be there with my mum. They told me they feel that it would be best if I make it clear to mum that she can't be there. I told them that my mum will be there. Then my stepmom told me that she can't be in the same room as her after what she did, so I just said, "Don't come." I told her that I wasn't going to beg her to be there. I wanted my mum there, and they weren't going to stop me. They asked me how I could say that, knowing that my mum betrayed my stepmom, and they asked me to be more compassionate. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Monster Chic 16 says, "Not the asshole. Jesus, move away as soon as you can. I'm surprised you haven't asked to stay with your mum full time at some point. Where was your stepmom's compassion when she broke apart your family? I'm #Team Mum too. Your mum deserved way better, and so did you." OP says, "I live with my mum now. This started when I was 17, though I do see my dad and stepmom because my mum encourages me not to do anything on her behalf. But at this point, it's more about me. And this is how you know that you have a great mother. Even though she has animosity with your father and stepmother, she's encouraging you to stay neutral as well, as for you to continue to see them. Because you should have a relationship with your father. Your stepmother can go kick rocks in trying to manipulate your feelings against your mother, and your father sucks for going along with it. Also, not the asshole. Because if stepmom doesn't want to be in the same room, so be it. Don't come. Wait until a wedding fiasco. She seems like she'll be a nightmare." Correct. Of all the adults in this equation, your mum seems to be the only one that cares about you. She wants you to have a healthy relationship with your dad, even though he cheated on her and has been bad-mouthing her for years. When one puts one's own ego above the welfare and happiness of children, they lose the right to participate in any of the child activities and don't deserve any compassion. These comments are spot on. I'm an adult now, but my dad cheated and then would make comments about my mum after they divorced. I was angry with my father, and yet my mum, who had custody, would never badmouth him up until I was in my 20s, even though him and his family put her through hell. Guess which parent I barely speak to? OP, not the asshole, and your mum sounds like a great person. Not the asshole for saying it, but I think that it's time you stop being neutral. Your stepmom sounds awful. If I were you, and this woman was the cause of my family breaking apart and hurting my mother, I would hate her. If it was me, I would have said, where was the compassion for my mother when you had an affair with her husband? Where was the compassion for me when you broke up my family? The only reason you want anything to do with me is because you can't have children of your own. I bet if you could, you would have tried to push me out of my father's life. Let me make it clear to you. You are not my mother, you will never be my mother, and if you keep trying to turn me against my mother, I will go no contact. Just because my father is blind to how toxic you are doesn't mean that I am. I would add that you are now an adult and the court does not dictate your relationship with your father. Your mother will be at all of your major adult milestones, whether they like it or not, so they can decide now to behave and accept that or not, because the first time they make a scene, they will no longer be invited to any future event. And then leave so they can't argue with you. Not the asshole. I very much agree with that. It is so good that the mother is not getting involved and staying neutral throughout this entire thing. You don't want to be dragging kids into the family law courts. You don't want to have them involved like that at all, because it just makes things so much worse. And they're correct about that. You do grow and mature and realize who was in the wrong in situations like this. Then you decide if you want to stay in contact or not, because being poisoned by one member of the family while the other stays neutral makes it pretty clear, who the perpetrators of such actions were. Definitely not the asshole OP for saying just don't come to your stepmom, because how dare she? How dare she say your mum shouldn't come because it makes me uncomfortable? You worded it perfectly, and thank you so much for standing up for yourself and for your mother, because what an absolute witch of a woman. Honestly, she deserves no grace for that. What a terrible person that stepmom is. Am I the asshole for being truthful and admitting that I find my wife unattractive after her surgery? My wife had plastic surgery recently. We had discussed it, and I was against it. It was not my decision, and ultimately I had no say. She looks weird now. She had the fat sucked out of her face, lip fillers, a neck lift, other stuff that I don't really get. She gives me uncanny valley vibes now. It freaks me out. She is fully healed now, and she wants us to go back to normal, like me initiating sex. I have done so, but not as much as I used to, and when I do, I try and make sure that there is very little light. It's been a few months, and I kind of dread having to look at her. Obviously, she has noticed. She's been bugging me to tell her what's up. I've tried telling her that I'm just tired from work, or that I'm run down. Really anything except for the truth. She broke down and asked me if I was having an affair. I said that I wasn't. She asked to look at my phone, and I unlocked it for her and handed it over. I wasn't worried about her finding anything because there is nothing to find. She spent an hour looking through it and found nothing. She asked me to explain why I changed. I tried explaining that I just wasn't that interested right now. Nothing I said was good enough for her. She kept digging. I finally told the truth. I wasn't harsh or brutally honest. I just told her that her new face wasn't something that I found attractive and that I was turned off. She asked if that's why I turned off all the lights now, and I said yes. She started crying and said that she needed some alone time. She went to stay with her sister. I've been called every name in the book since this happened. Her sister said that I'm a piece of shit for insulting my wife's looks. Her friends all think that I'm the asshole. I tried not to say anything. I can't force myself to find her attractive. I still love her, but her face is just weird now. She looks like the blue alien from The Fifth Element. That's crazy. In the comments, Drunken Shitposting says, "Not the asshole. I think you handled the situation as well as you could, but there's a difficult conversation that you and her need to have soon." Oh god, if she did the buccal fat remover, I totally feel you. It makes people look so freaky. OP says, "Yeah, that's it. Thanks, I couldn't remember." Oh man, there are plastic surgeons out there that refuse to do this, 1, because of the damage it can cause, and 2, because there isn't enough data to show exactly what it'll do over time, but they suspect that it'll cause some worse problems down the road as people age. Even worse for people under 40 to 50 years old. According to the rabbit hole that I went down recently, buccal fat is good to have because it can help reduce jowl sagging later on. Anyway, while it's totally in her right to make the choice to get that surgery, you're not the asshole, OP. No one's an asshole for what they do and don't find attractive, and I'd said this in another comment, but you tried to compromise internally and tried to protect her feelings. But she flung around accusations of cheating, wouldn't let it go, kept pushing, and when you were honest with her, she flipped shit, left, and pulled other people into your marriage who are now on a slam campaign against you. She did all of this, and still can't manage to take any personal responsibility or act like an adult about it. To be honest, this post would be fit for r/oh no consequences, but not because of you. Every single person who has had that surgery done is automatically aged by 10 years. It's sad. That is too true. It turns people into Skeletor or handsome Squidward. I've been wondering why pretty recently a lot of famous women have been looking like they've sucked their cheeks in. Now I know that it's buccal fat. It makes absolutely beautiful women look bad. I can't imagine what it would do to a woman or man with subpar starting beauty. Not the arsehole. It's not my thing, and I'm very lucky that it's not my husband's thing either. You discussed it, you voiced your concerns, she did it anyway, as was her right. But choices have consequences, and these are the consequences that she actively chose, knowing how you felt. Freedom of choice doesn't mean freedom from consequences. She can't pretend to be all surprise Pikachu now. Well, I mean, I guess technically she could, but I'm not buying it. And sicking her flying monkeys on you? Not cool either. Edit, randomness, for some reason, I read Blue Alien from Fifth Element, and my mind replaced it with Blue Alien from Avatar, and I was like, oh, that's not too bad. Oh, wait. Quotes, she can't pretend to be all surprised Pikachu now? Exactly, Pikachu has cheeks. Not the asshole. It's not your fault that you don't find her new face attractive. That isn't a conscious choice. I'm all for people doing what they want with their body, but if they're in a relationship and their partner states their dislike of the body modification, then that person should keep in mind the risk of doing it will be their partner's lack of attraction. Now, do I think that you might have wanted to fess up on what was wrong much earlier? Absolutely. Once again, it's another story where it's down to communication. I can absolutely understand not wanting to voice your opinion and not wanting to hurt your wife, OP, but I don't know. I feel like you should have seen that hurt was going to happen inevitably, and it seems as though you decided that this option was the better of the two in hurting your wife, in not talking to her and her having to go a bit crazy trying to find answers from you. Absolutely not the asshole for finding your wife unattractive after her plastic surgery, but I guess you did voice yourself before the surgery, and it doesn't need to be restated because she knew the risks going into it. It's just that if you were to be continuously repeating it, you'd be beating a dead horse. I don't really think there's any winning in this situation. This just sucks. And now, onto the update. So my wife came home yesterday, and we finally had a long talk. She told me that the reason she had the surgery was because her mum and sister talked her into it. They convinced her that she was starting to look old, and that I would find someone else to be with if she didn't do something. That was why her mum gave her the money for the operations. Her mum and sister look like Bruce Campbell in Escape from LA. They are the very last people on the planet that should be telling anyone to get plastic surgery. I used some of the comments that I read on my post as talking points. I told her that I loved her and that she was the person that I wanted to spend my life with. I told her that the surgery would take a while longer to settle down and that as I got more used to her new face, I would learn to appreciate it. She then asked me if I wanted her to see if she could get it reversed. I almost screamed at her. The last thing I want in the world is for her to F up her face more than it already is. I asked her if she could please just leave it and let me get used to it. We talked for about 3 hours, and we decided that her mum and sister would not be a part of any decisions in our life going forward. She's going to leave her face alone and give me a chance to get used to it. We're going to look for a marriage counselor and maybe individual counselors for each of us. I am going to make an effort to show her every day how I still find her desirable, and she's going to make an effort to believe me when I tell her I love her the way that she is. We're going to talk to her mum and sister and tell them that we are taking a break from them. We are going to block them and get our shit together before we allow them back into our lives. Thank you to everyone who tried to help me. I would like to add that I did not think that there were that many guys out there with a weird blue squid lady fetish. It isn't for me, but you do you. In the comments, Devious Whippet says, I am not confident in my appearance at all, but you know who tells me I'm beautiful even though I look like a yam? My mum and sisters. Screw your wife's family for doing that to her. Damn, you roasted yourself so bad that I almost instinctively downvoted because it was so mean-spirited. Congrats on the roasting gift, but you should be kinder to yourself. Quotes, I would like to add that I didn't think that there were that many guys out there with a weird blue squid lady fetish. Remember, you did post this story to Reddit. And OP says, still really odd. Many tough elements here. Her self-esteem, body dysmorphia, being influenced by her mum and sister, you losing attraction for now, which leads us to the fifth element. Damn, that was funny. Glad you're making the effort and continuing to love your wife. OP says, I can't stop loving her. It's a bit like she received a disfiguring scar in an accident. You can't help that it shocks you at first, but she's still the person that you love. And ultimately, OP says, we're going to work at it, there is a long road ahead. I will spend the rest of my life showing her that she is the woman that I want. It's frickin' wild to me that she got buccal fat removal in an attempt to look younger, because I know of not a single person that does not look much older after the procedure. Which makes me wonder if the handsome Squidwards gave her bad advice to ruin her natural looks. Disordered people sometimes feel threatened by anyone who isn't in the same mess with them. Oh no, buccal fat removal. Poor thing's gonna be just haggard as she ages. And it's not reversible. The best a plastic surgeon can do is inject fat into a cavity that's closer to skin of the face, so she won't look like she did even if she tries. Her mother and sister sound like awful people, destroying her self-esteem like that. Honestly, I can't understand how this procedure is popular. So many people are going to be walking around looking like the Crypt Keeper after 45. The permanence of plastic surgery, I don't know if she can recover from this. Although now I think about it, OP said they discussed this for a year before she started having surgery. It must have come up that his wife was being influenced by her family, and comparing her intentional disfigurement to a car accident is insane. I'm sure that OP was aware of their influence, but his wife is an adult, fully in control of her own decisions. She spent a year saying that she wants and needs it for herself, and then suddenly switches it to her mother and sister talked her into it? Obviously, she's not that easy to talk into if OP, being strictly against it, did not dissuade her. Once again, I'm just going to say, thank God this isn't a situation that I'm having to deal with in my own life, because what an absolute circus. If OP is a reliable narrator here, and it was the case that his wife, for the entire year, was like, no, actually, this is my decision, I need it for my own self-esteem because I want to do it, and then right after the fact, when everything comes out, say, actually, my mum and sister told me to do it, this wasn't really my choice, I was persuaded by them. I don't know about that one, Chief, that's crazy. Like, she's angry that OP couldn't be trusted to tell her the truth about her face. What about her lying beforehand, saying that it was her decision when really it was the influence from her family? Why is that lie okay and OP's lie not okay? At the end of the day, I'm happy that you guys are sticking together and working through it, and still not the asshole for that, OP. Our next post is by user Dionysus Laos, titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to respond to my quote-unquote sister? I, male 24, recently did a DNA and ancestry test. I won't name the brand because I don't want this to seem like an ad. I was adopted by my parents when I was 7 years old. I don't really remember much, if anything, of my life prior to being adopted, but I know that I was neglected to say the least, just to put that context out there. I've never really had intentions of meeting my biological family. I've always thought that they obviously didn't care about me, so why should I waste my time caring for them? When I did the DNA test, I knew that it was a chance that I would be matched with a close genetic relation, but I never had any intention of messaging with any of them, even though my parents have been supportive of me finding a connection to my bio family. Anyway, the DNA test came back a few days ago, and I matched with someone who apparently is my biological half-sister. She sent me a long message explaining that she's been searching for me for a while and that she would love to speak and help me build a picture of my biological family. She said that she lived with me and my dad, her stepdad, and our mum when I was young. She was 7 years older than me, and when I was removed into foster care, she moved in with her dad. I read the message, but I haven't responded, and in all honesty, I don't plan to. It's nice that I know that someone is out there who cares for me, but I still don't want anything to do with my bio family. My brother, also adopted, Oliver, says that I'm being selfish by not responding. He says that I should think about what my sister might be thinking, but I don't think that he understands, since he's always kept a link to his bio family. We ended up getting into a huge, stupid argument over it, and he says that if I wasn't going to respond, I shouldn't have even done the test, because now it just gives my sister false hope. I told him that he didn't understand what I was going through, because he never lost connection with his bio family, and he said that I'm an idiot for thinking that. We were both probably equally rude. I'm not trying to paint him as a bad person. We had a dumb fight. So am I the asshole for refusing to respond to my sister? In the comments, OKChildhood9774 says, not the asshole. Your feelings about your family connections are exactly that. Yours. If you are not ready to be in contact with your half-sister, then that's fine. Maybe you will someday, but it's ultimately your choice. Your brother has no business pushing you. OP says, thanks. I genuinely think that my brother doesn't understand how stressful it is because he has always had that link to his bio family. She remembers you and apparently has been looking for you. Can't you just send a message saying that you ended up okay, but for the moment that you'd like some space? It will reassure her and you won't have to be in touch with someone that you don't want to be in touch with. No assholes here. That would be the kindest way to handle it, re the sister and her own pain from past events. If he was 7 at adoption and the sister was 14, she would have a lot invested emotionally in reconnecting. But if he's not wanting that at this point in his life, then that's fine too. But the idea of messaging and reassuring the sister and explaining his current feelings would be a wonderful thing to do for her. Not the asshole, but you should really respond with something given you made your results public. Hi, thank you for reaching out. Right now I'm still working through my own feelings about knowing my real family. At some point in the future, I may be more open to connecting, but for now I just need some time. OP says, thank you for your comment, and I know you probably didn't mean anything by it, but they aren't really my family. My real family is the family that took me in and cared for me. I don't blame my sister for anything that happened to me. She was a child herself, but I don't consider her my family, let alone my real family. Not the asshole, but I'm in the camp of it would be kind to at least acknowledge in a response, since it sounds like she has spent all of that time wondering, were you safe, cared for, was it a better situation, did you get stuck in the system, etc. Giving her closure does not mean that you have to build an ongoing connection, however much or little information you feel appropriate. Thank you for reaching out. I'm not looking to reconnect with my past on an interpersonal level, but I wish you well. Thank you for reaching out. I'm not looking to build bridges looking backwards, nor maintaining future contacts. I wish you well, and rest assured that I was welcomed, adopted, etc., into a wonderful family and live a good life, etc. No assholes here, but I don't know why you'd make your info publicly available if you weren't planning to respond to anyone. OP says, pretty sure the one I used said I couldn't see my matches unless I was public. I guess I was curious as to if I had any matches that were close. My other sibling did one, and the closest he had was a third cousin, so in all honesty it was a mixture of I was curious and not expecting anyone to be closely related to me. Yeah, I don't think you're the asshole for this one, but I think it's a very much complicated situation, and I can understand why you're like, I'm just curious, I just want to see what's out there, I'm really not comfortable with connecting with these people. But you did kind of open up Pandora's box with this one, OP, and I can understand you not wanting to reach out to her, but at the same time understanding the hurt that may cause for someone that has been looking for you, that has been wondering if you're okay, if you're still alive, that did have a very much close connection with you that you may not have had with them. You're not an asshole for not doing any of that, but to me, it reads as a very hurtful thing on her end. And now, on to the update. Thank you all for sharing your points of view. I read almost all of the comments and appreciate all the advice and kind words that most people sent out. I decided in the end to take the advice of most of you and send a message to my sister, which said, "Hello, name. Thank you for reaching out, and I appreciate you sharing that you have been searching for me. As you know, I was taken into foster care at age 5, which I don't remember much of. I was adopted by my mum and dad when I was 7 years old into a loving family. I've been cared for greatly by them and love them with all my heart. I have been to Name University and have graduated with a first-class honours degree in education and am currently working as a teacher. Although I appreciate you reaching out, I am not currently looking for any connection to my biological relatives at this time. I just wanted to send this message to let you know that I am well and have had a happy life being part of my new family. Best of wishes, Name." I think that message is alright and makes it clear that I'm not looking for any connection. She has read the message but has not responded, although I don't expect her to. Thank you all again for your advice and help dealing with this stressful situation. In the comments, Mercury Alipes says, "As much as I think that you were not the asshole, I'm glad that you decided to do this. It does seem like the right thing to do." OP's sister was innocent in this situation, just like him. It makes me so pleased that he messaged her just so she knows that he's happy and safe. She's probably been missing and searching for him for years. Definitely the right thing to do. I'm just over here wondering what OP really expected by doing the DNA test. It's pretty obvious why people do those things. An idiotic thing to do to open that can of worms. I feel bad for the sister. She obviously remembers everything. Probably had to take care of him the best way that she could as a child. Maybe he wanted information about his ethnicity. It really doesn't matter why he did it, and it's not idiotic to want more information about where you came from. That does not mean that he was obligated to form a relationship with anyone. I'm so glad that you decided to message her this once. Your message made it clear that you were not looking for a connection, but gave her the reassurance that you were living a good life. The best of both worlds. OP says, "Yeah, she literally just sent me a really nice message back, so I'm glad that I provided closure for her. Even though finding out I have a bio sister has been stressful and something I never expected. In some ways, it's been nice finding out. Your letter was very generous and kind. Sending it took courage and probably made more of a difference than you'll ever know. I couldn't imagine what she's been carrying all these years. Your mum and dad, the real ones who raised you, did a great job and must be proud of you." And also, here is the sister's response. "Hello, OP. It is so great to hear from you, and I am so pleased to hear how well you've gotten on. I completely understand and respect your decision about contacting biological family. I also went to that university, but I imagine a few years before you did. It makes me so happy to know that you've found an amazing family who was able to love you in the way that you deserved to be loved. I just wish that I was able to be a part of that life also. I got married last year and had a 2-year-old son named Name. I hope one day you will feel open to meeting him. Although he's young, I've told him about you and how we used to play peanut butter dog. Do you remember that? Sending all my love." Man, such a complicated situation. I'm glad that the commenters could see the nuance in the situation, that while OP would be not the asshole for whatever he decides to do, that not being an asshole still falls short of doing something kind. I'm glad his sister got closure, that he was able to protect his peace, and hopefully his adopted brother backs off after the compromise. It must be difficult to feel rejected on so many fronts, put up for adoption, and having a history of neglect, but he seems like he did well after his rough start to life. I don't think that OP is the asshole at all, but I'm curious as to why you'd do a DNA ancestry test if you were so against contacting your bio family. Medical reasons I can understand, but for ancestry, can't you usually opt out of being public? The one my husband did certainly offered that option. I feel really sorry for this sister. It must have been incredibly traumatic for her to lose her sibling at 14, never to see them again, and then finally find them and be shut out. I completely understand why OP didn't want to foster a relationship, but my heart breaks for that 14-year-old watching the 5-year-old taken away. Yeah, as an older sibling who has a younger brother that will always be my baby brother, I can't imagine if years down the line he doesn't want to do anything with me. That would devastate me. If he was only doing it for the genetic group breakdown, then he should have kept his account on private. Honestly, whether you're adopted or not, people shouldn't be putting themselves into a database where others can see you if they aren't ready for surprises. To assume that anyone linked to him wouldn't care is baffling to me, as they may not have had a choice in his being adopted, etc., like a sibling. I'm on some genealogy subs, and there have been people who have discovered a NPE, non-paternity event, where someone's daddy may not be the father. I knew that I might be contacted by a cousin or two based on family rumors alone. I'm glad he reached out to her. Ghosting her would have been wrong after essentially giving her hope by making his results public. I just presume anyone who has done that is open to conversation about how we are related. Am I the asshole here for breaking up my engagement because my fiancé isn't traditional enough? A little background. I, 26 female, come from a relatively traditional Asian family, so sorry in advance for my bad English. My father owns a rice wine brewery, and my mother helps him with it. Even though I said my family is pretty much conservative, from what I've seen growing up, my father never told my mother to do all the chores, and he helps her with them. My father always says that he couldn't provide for the family alone, and she has to work. That's why he never expects her to do everything in the house. Just like how they share the responsibilities to earn for our family, they also share responsibilities taking care of the household. Now, come my fiancé, 29 male. We met on social media. He's an American who's currently working in my country. We've been dating for 3 years and been engaged for 5 months. He always tells me that he's looking for a traditional woman and wants to date with marriage in mind. He said that women who are able to take care of the household and child rearing is admirable, and I always agree to him without much thought, because that's indeed an incredible feat, right? He's working in a small university, and I'm currently working in hospital. We saved for enough to buy a house with a little bit of help from my parents, but we haven't moved in together though, because, Asian parents. But anyway, on my father's birthday last week, we talked about marriage once again. He doesn't think that his income alone would be enough after our marriage, and it's giving him insecurities. So I suggested that I keep working after marriage, and that's not a problem because we'd be partners. My father also offered that we take over his brewery, and while I found the idea lovely, my fiancé, on the other hand, seems hesitant about it, but he agreed that I should keep my job. That's where the first problem started. I told him that since I have to work, then I expect that he'll keep up with the household chores later. After I said that, he suddenly got irritated. He said that he had been telling me that he's looking for a traditional woman and that now he had been catfished since I don't want to take care of every household chore because I'd still work anyway. Whenever he said that he's looking for a traditional spouse, I always thought that he'd also be a traditional spouse himself, aka being sole provider, so I can focus on taking care of the house and child if we ever have any. But when I told him that, he said that I'm a gold digger and materialistic like any other woman, even when I've never once asked him to be the sole provider. He brought that up first. Mind you, I didn't even let him pay for me when we went out on a date. E.g., he paid for dinner, I paid for coffee and movie. Even my father willingly offered his brewery if we wanted to take care of it as a means to provide for ourselves. So where's the gold that I should have been digging here? That was when I actually put the ring down and told him that I want to break up. I told him that he's not traditional enough if he wants a fully traditional wife. I didn't want to deal with someone who could easily call me a gold digger because I wanted to share the chores. That hasn't even happened yet, in front of my parents. I can't help but think if he could easily have said what he said in front of my parents when we haven't even married yet, then he could be saying something worse if we are married and alone. I went home alone and he texted me saying he was sorry and he didn't mean what he said. He asked to meet, but I said I don't feel like it. However, when I told my friends, most of them told me that I was a bit too emotional, hasty, and impulsive, that I might look like an asshole because I don't even want to meet him. His mother is now trying to talk me out of it and says that I'm too old to act like this, and it's the cultural barrier that led us to this point. So here I am, trying to look for a new perspective. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Pristine Payment says, "You are 100% correct. If he doesn't provide 100%, then he should help around the house. But I'm curious, what do your parents think of what he said?" OP says, "My parents don't really speak English, so they could only understand it a bit and piece together what he said. My father initially felt bad. He thought that we fought because he brought up the business, but after I told them the reason, excluding the gold digger and materialistic remarks, they are fully on my side. And if I want to end it, then I should, but they think that I should meet him at least once to ending our relationship properly. Be careful when you break up with him. Bring friends or relatives, preferably male ones, and meet him in a public place. Men like him can be dangerous when their woman stands up to them." OP says, "Alright, thank you for the advice. My parents are coming, and my father said that he's not going to let me meet him alone. Thank you once again. I just want to say, I really admire your parents, and you too, of course. Mad respect for leaving his sorry ass. He called you a materialistic gold digger who catfished him in front of your parents? You were definitely not the asshole, and I think you're right to worry that much worse could be coming your way behind closed doors. If you do decide to keep him in your life, please proceed with caution. And his mother is wrong. This isn't a cultural barrier. Her son is a walking red flag." And OP replies, "Yes, but my parents don't really speak English, so maybe that's why. I find his remarks even more rude because of that. I don't think I'll keep him, and you're absolutely right. It's sad that I only found out when we're already at this point, but I'm glad we haven't gone further." Lamau? He wants a live-in maid/servant that he can have sex with. He wants an indentured servant, not a partner. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. He's showing his true colors here. He wants you to do 100% of the domestic labor and work because he cannot finance this traditional life that he wants. He's a chump and likely a red-pilled misogynist. He wants a trad wife, but he isn't going to be a trad husband. He's an idiot, not the asshole. He sounds like a refugee from the Passport Bros sub. I hope he gets legitimately catfished and ends up losing a ton of money to some woman he thought that he could exploit and degrade. And now on to the update. First of all, I want to thank everyone who kindly replied and messaged me this past week. I truly am grateful for all the encouragement that I received from everyone. It really warms my heart in amidst all of this mess. I want to admit that I, too, ignored quite a number of red flags that he displayed in the past years, brushing it off as difference in our culture and upbringing. I thought that I was being open-minded and accommodating, not knowing that I should have opened a deeper conversation regarding what I want if I were to deepen our relationship. Many people kindly gave me praises in my previous post, but I feel rather undeserving to receive them because I also did many stupid things that got me here. Okay, now to the real update. Last night, I had a dinner with him alongside my father after much thought and input that I received from Redditors, friends, and family. Long story short, he still didn't want to end our relationship. He apologized, saying he misspoke and wanted to fix his mistake. He said it was because he was too comfortable with me, since I'm not a confrontational person, and I did help quite a lot with his chores, bringing side dishes, help clean up his place every now and then, etc. So he thought that I'll always be accommodating about what he wants. I also apologize that I've never really brought this kind of topic up seriously and not making sure that we were on the same page whenever we did discuss this type of topic. He agreed that I should have told him before, because that way it would have never got to this point, and then keep bringing up my bad communication. I know it's my fault too, but it didn't feel good at all hearing that from him. Even if he admitted his faults and never spoke badly to me before, except for that one time, I still can't shake off my distrust of him. I don't know why, but what happened last week is like an instant feeling repellent. So, I returned the ring he gave me and told him that I'll return more than half of the amount we used to buy our house. He initially refused the money, saying he wants to keep trying to win back my trust and me to keep in contact with him. But this morning he said that I can transfer his money because marriage is not really happening now, and tried to prevent me to sell the house nor tell our mutual friends that marriage is off the table. So I just updated almost all of my group chats that now I'm single, and here to tell everyone that I'm single because my now ex-fiancé has a big red flag. So big that China would be crying with envy. I feel like an asshole, to be honest, because it seems like my feelings for him were shallow all along. But maybe reality hasn't hit me yet, but that's that. In the comments, To Whom It May Concern says, "Good for you. All these men who want traditional wives without being traditional husbands are ridiculous. They want you to do 100% of the domestic labor and childcare while also working, while they only want to work outside the house. How lazy and entitled can you be? If anyone's a gold digger, then it's him. Good riddance. It's not traditional unless it comes from the traditional region in France. Otherwise, it's just sparkling misogyny. You absolutely did the right thing. What does your dad think?" OP says, "My dad is a typical Japanese father, so we don't talk a lot since I've grown up, but he's supporting my decision to cancel the engagement. He doesn't say much, but he looks quite happy since he wasn't into it for quite a long while back. Thank you for the kind words. I hope you and everyone around you are always kind to each other like you are to me now. It certainly makes me feel better. You need to go to intense therapy so it doesn't happen again. You apologize to a man for not being his maid." OP says, "Thank you for the response. I didn't apologize for not wanting to be someone's maid, but for not being open and talking about what I want and expect in our relationship. I read in my previous post that many pointed out that conversation with this topic should have happened long before, and I agree with that. That is why I apologize. However, I will always keep working on myself, so thank you for your suggestion. I'll keep it in mind." The house. Did you go 50-50? Why does he get more? OP says, "We went 45-45, and my father added to the 10%. My father was the one who offered to give him 50% of the shares as an extra layer of protection. Now he cannot complain and has no reason to contact me or my family. To catch a sea bream with a shrimp," he said. "Thank you for the reassurance, and I will work hard to be better. Thank you for your response also. I really appreciate it. If the two of you are joint owners and want to cash out of it, he is entitled to a share in the house's current value, not a share of what he initially paid." And OP says, "The house is under my name as it's difficult for foreigners to own property in a good condition here. Thank you for your concern." Someone called OP and her family spineless, and I really appreciated her responses. OP says, "If you don't mind, I don't have a problem with you insulting me, but do not attempt to do that to my family. Not everything can be resolved by only being tough and formidable. I don't think that it's stupid knowing when to be firm and how we compromise for our financial decision to avoid future problems. But I do think that it's naive when one doesn't even consider that there are other ways to solve a problem other than butting heads and fighting. Stupid when they don't even try to understand the logic behind others' problem-solving method." Another response, OP says, "That's your prerogative right to insult us. It is also within my prerogative right to ask you to stop. This kind of exchange is called conversation in Japan. I don't know what it's called in your country. Is it another cultural difference? If someone's uncomfortable, they should have sucked it up or didn't go somewhere or talk to someone in the first place? Excellent. My apologies for being so ignorant." Giving him more money than he deserved guaranteed me an excuse for cutting contact completely, that I've compromised my decision. Social circle runs differently here because breaking up an engagement and divorce will always be a hot topic, and sometimes it affects you on an institutional level. Sometimes it'll affect your career even more when you're a woman. Yes, there are some cases where people getting fired because they got divorced reflects badly on the company's image. Sometimes some companies go as far as giving paid leave and vacation to mend their employees' married life. I'm not breaking up, I'm canceling an engagement. It weighs differently. You are naive to think that every society works like yours and your value is applicable to every part of the world without considering their societal circumstances. I'm not excusing it, but I'm not someone so important that I can change them overnight, nor do I want to sacrifice my family and my own reputation. I'm not delusional enough to think that I'm the main character. If that's still spineless to you, then sure. I hope you do as well as him navigating your life here. S the Bunny says, the guy is looking for a traditional woman while working abroad in Japan? It sounds like he bought into the stereotype of the demure, submissive Asian woman to me. She was completely right that in order to live his trad wife dreams of having all the housework done and his dinner ready when he walks in the door, etc., he needs to be making enough money so that she doesn't have to work. If both partners are working, then of course both partners will be doing housework and chores too. It's so obnoxious when boys like this ignore that there are two parts to the traditional marriage equation. I wanted to throw a slipper at his head when she very logically concluded that if she was working more, he had to do more chores. If she worked, asking him to do more chores was a bad wife. If she stayed home child-rearing and doing all chores, asking him to do all the work was gold-digging. Like, dude, his kind doesn't want a traditional marriage, they want indentured servitude. They want a bangmaid who doesn't ask them to be an equal partner in anything or have anything to do with their own children, which they want, but nothing to do with them. 100% they'd cheat and possibly leave after the spark leaves her eye from shouldering so much of the family burden, too. He has a bullshit skewed view of Asian women. I'm Asian. For some reason, a lot of Western men think we're this submissive lot that will have a full-time job, be a full-time mum, and are still able to wait on you hand and foot. That's what he meant by traditional wife. He wants a live-in maid who also contributes to paying the bills. F him. I've recently come across the 4B movement in South Korea and other Asian feminism, and yeah, I don't think this whole submissive thing is gonna work out the way the dudes like this think. Take a bunch of women who collectively are working through the fact that generations, way too close for comfort, used to be treated as little more than wombs, in general, and you'd get a lot of things, but definitely not submissive women. I am grossly oversimplifying here, but I think my point stands. Anyone see that Rotten Mango video lately? I just want to say that I greatly appreciate you commenting on the fact that this is multi-generational trauma that is only now beginning to surface because women are able to talk to other women now. Yeah, I think the cumulative power of trauma is something people who aren't marginalized, and especially people like white cis dudes, don't get. We are carrying the trauma of our mothers. We realize when we run into certain kinds of bullshit that it's the same thing that they went through. I was talking to my grandmother about a doctor ignoring my pain, and she told me stories from the 60s of the same thing. It builds up into a very real weight that you can't help but be aware of. Our next post is by user Flaky Artists, titled, "My boyfriend talked me into having a threesome with my best friend, and now I'm done." I know I'm probably going to get people yelling at me that I should have never agreed to it, and that it's my fault, but I mean, when you have your 18 female, boyfriend 23 male, pestering and badgering you for months, sometimes you just give into it. We had the threesome about 2 weeks ago, and I've just been, I don't know. I feel so ugly and like I'm not enough. I think I enjoyed it in the moment. I don't know, but now I'm just done. My best friend is so pretty and just everything I'm not. She's tall, blonde, and athletic, has the perfect face. I love her. She's amazing. I'm short, black hair, and I'm not fat, I'm just bustier and have thick thighs. Even when I was underweight, I just looked like a stick with tits and too big of an ass. I've always wanted liposuction or something just to get rid of the excess fat. But I just keep replaying it in my head. He had so much fun with her and even forgot about me at times. I'm just not enough for him. Now every time he messages me, I don't get excited. Or when he tried to touch or kiss me, I just shrug him off. Whenever he holds me while we're in bed, I just get nauseous. I really wish that I was enough, but I just never am, because every man I'm with always wants more, wants somebody else. I'm just done and needed to vent, I'm sorry. In the comments, another Aloe asks, are you and your friend both 18? Because this guy sounds real questionable. I mean, also, if anyone is badgering you for anything regarding sex, that's coercion. So yeah, I'm very happy that you are leaving him. You are enough. He's just taking advantage of the fact that you're young, and maybe he preyed on your insecurities. And OP says, my best friend is 21. How long have you known the two of them? OP says, I've known my best friend for about 5-ish years, and I've known my boyfriend since I was 17, I think. We've only started dating shortly after I turned 18. Wait, why did she agree? OP says, I don't know how to explain this, but she has a sex bucket list, and always wanted to have a threesome. She was iffy at first, but I think he convinced her that it was okay, and nothing would be different or change. You wrote during the threesome that your boyfriend was with your BFF more than you, to the point that he excluded you from the threesome. Did she do the same? Or did she try to include you? Did you guys talk about how you felt after the threesome? How is your friendship with her now? Is everything normal with her? Do you feel the dynamics have changed between your boyfriend and BFF? Like their relationship and how they interact with one another has changed as well? Is your boyfriend back to normal? Has he noticed how you've changed and how you feel about the threesome? Communication is key in a relationship, and if this keeps bugging you, then it's time to move on. OP says, she included me more than he did, to the point that he got a little frustrated. She was openly trying to involve me, and he was just ignoring her. I've told her how I've felt. She told me she understands why, and how she even felt a little weird about it afterwards. Honestly, I feel like we're okay. I mean, she's seen me naked before, I've seen her naked. Like, all that's changed is now we've been sexually intimate, but other than that, she still feels like the same old friend I've had. He's kind of become more and more infatuated with her, I guess. He's texting her more, asking me to text her from my phone for him to relay messages, talking about her moving in with us, etc. But she's blocked him and told me she doesn't feel right with the way that he's behaving. He's noticed, and all he's complained about is how I haven't had sex with him since that night. He asked me if I was jealous, and when I said no, he said, okay, so why won't you touch me? So he's noticed, but he's just more upset that I won't have sex with him. I know communication is important, but I just feel kind of worried about telling him how I feel. It's stupid, I know. Alarmed Link says, time to be single for a bit and work on yourself. You're only 18. You have enough time to do just that. No surprise that the 23-year-old dude convinced his 18-year-old girlfriend to do something sexual that she didn't want to do. Weird power dynamic coercion. It hurts to see. Congratulations on discovering who he really is before you get more committed to the relationship. Badgering you for something you clearly didn't want to do is such a big red flag. He doesn't give a damn about you or your feelings, needs, or wants. He just wanted a legitimate reason to shag your friend. How's it been between you and your friend now? You are good enough, more than good enough for the right person. He is not that person. Get out now before he destroys your self-worth even further. Never measure your worth by what a man wants. You are so young, but in time you will learn. And now to the update. I broke up with him. I found out he had another girlfriend whom he's been dating since 2020. She lives in a different city for college, the same city that his sister lives in, so every time he was visiting his sister, which was weekly, he was visiting his actual girlfriend/fiancé. I was basically filling her spot until she graduated, and they're basically engaged. I am so hurt and distraught right now. I'm staying with one of my friends. I blocked him on everything and just want to move on. I'm so effing upset and hurt right now. I feel so ugly and used. I feel like the worst person in the world for hurting another woman. You really can't trust anybody because while he was making me all these promises of marrying me and loving me, he was doing the same to her. I really don't think I'll ever be able to fully trust another significant other after this. Thanks to all the kind commenters. I appreciate you. In the comments, Jackamus01 asks, did you tell his other girlfriend? And OP says, no, because I promised I wouldn't if he promised not to upload certain videos and pictures to a certain website after he threatened to do so. You need to call the cops and let them know that he's blackmailing you, and then let the other girl know. This is absolutely not okay. Do you have the messages where he said this? You need to go to the police and then tell her. OP says, I tried going to the police, but they told me that I needed a lawyer, and I can't afford one. That cop had to be talking out of their ass, right? That has to be bullshit. Most likely he is, yeah, but depending on where OP lives, there may not be much that she can do about it. Also, she's just 18. Poor thing. I'm begging people to stop having threesomes when they don't actually want to have a threesome. The one shining light on this mess is that OP found out her ex is cheating, so she can at least completely move on with her life. I hope she's able to tell his fiancé. She deserves to know what a pig he is. Am I the asshole here for thinking that there is a hidden affair between my husband and best friend? I, 31 female, have a deep suspicion that there is something weird going on between my husband, 33 male, and my best friend Maria, 30 female. My husband feels that I'm just seeing things and is mad at me that I do not trust him. Please tell me if what's going on is just in my head or if you also find the situation from last weekend suspicious. Maria and I have been best friends since college. She's always been very outgoing, while I'm more of an introvert. Maria was always a bit promiscuous and loved drama. She had a lot of boyfriends and hookups in college. She is also very beautiful, and I always felt invisible when I was around her. I have weight issues. I always felt overshadowed by her. I was always very shy, and my husband was the first person I ever dated. Maria always teased me that I'd only been with one guy in my life. As we've grown older, Maria still has yet to be in a real, long-term relationship. I feel that things have reversed now, and she keeps on telling me how lucky I am to have such an ambitious and reliable husband by my side. Around 6 months ago, my husband came to me and told me that he felt Maria was trying to flirt with him. He does not like Maria, but he tolerates her for me. During one of the dinner parties, Maria was acting very flirty around my husband. She was just laughing extra loudly at all of his jokes, complimenting his fitness, and touching him on the shoulders and arms. My husband told me that he felt uncomfortable with her behavior and asked me to talk to Maria. I was pissed off and talked to Maria. She got angry at me and said that she had known my husband for over a decade. He is like a brother to her. She felt that my husband was trying to destroy our friendship because he does not like her. I felt that she was genuine, so I let it go. Maria soon joined our gym because she wanted to take yoga classes with me. However, she spent more time in the weights room where my husband is. Again, my husband made comments about how she is always half naked in the gym and asked him to spot her. Maria complained that my husband is being rude and unhelpful to her. I again took her side and told my husband to be helpful and nice to her, as she is my best friend. My husband said that he would make more efforts. I slowly started seeing them getting more and more friendly and working out together. I wanted to be cool, but I felt jealous. So now to what happened last weekend. Maria invited a bunch of her friends for a birthday party at her apartment. There were 7 guests there, including my husband and I. Maria kept on pushing tequila shots on all of us. Eventually, most of us got drunk. Maria was sitting next to my husband and was being very flirty with him, but I could see that my husband not reciprocating, so I didn't care. Maria insisted that we stay back at her place, and my husband and I slept in the guest bedroom. The other 3 guests, who were her co-workers, 1 guy and 2 girls, crashed on the sofas in the living room. I was drunk, and the last thing I remember was my husband bringing me to the guest room. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I was alone in bed. I could hear some moaning noises from outside. I quickly started looking for my phone in the dark, and in that process, I dropped something from the nightstand on the floor. The noises stopped, and I heard a door open and close outside. I quickly got up to see where my husband was. When I reached the hallway, I saw my husband, just in his jeans with no shirt on. I asked him where he was, and he said that he went to the restroom and asked if I was okay. I said yes, and he came and slept next to me. He was sweaty, and I asked him where his shirt was, and he said that the heater was too high and he felt hot. His t-shirt was on a chair next to the bed. I lay down, but I was barely able to sleep after that. I got up early and went into Maria's room, and she was sleeping alone, naked. I told her that we were taking off, and she just got up to see us off. I kept this all to myself, and when we reached home and my husband went to take a shower, I immediately checked his phone. I couldn't find any messages between him and Maria. I spent the whole day thinking about it and finally confronted my husband regarding it at night. He was pretty angry at me and told me that he hates Maria and the only reason he tolerates Maria is because of me. I told him about the moaning noises, and he said that he also heard the same when he went to the restroom, but thought that they were coming from the living room. He is still angry at me that I could accuse him of something so horrible, and has told me that if I'm really that insecure, I should cut off my friendship with Maria. He also told me that he was never going to be in the same room as Maria ever again. I have no idea what to do. On one hand, I know my husband would never cheat on me, but it's just impossible to get the doubts out of my head. I keep on picturing my husband and Maria together in her bed. Am I the asshole to confront my husband and accuse him of cheating just because of what I saw and not having any real proof? How do I know what happened? If I confront Maria and accuse her, she's also going to be equally mad at me. I don't know her co-workers' friends well enough to trust what they say. I just feel stupid for trying to push for the friendship between my husband and Maria. Please help. In the comments, Legal Nebula 4797 says, most of the comments that I've read have gone in on Maria and discussed how she's not your friend. I agree. But I want to talk about the fact that you really need to be a better partner to your husband. He has expressed discomfort many times to you. You have flatly ignored his feelings and have brushed them aside. You've even encouraged him to be close to someone who he doesn't even like. Stop it, OP. This is wrong. If someone was constantly flirting with and harassing you, how would you like it if your love and partner told you to just get over it and play nice? Respect your husband's decisions to never go around Maria again. He said, I will never be in the same room as her again. Let that be the law of the land. It is not your place to try to force him to be around her and then get mad when you can tell the vibes are off, which he's explicitly told you over and over. Do better, OP. Your husband is never seeing her again, and I don't know why you would want to either. Some friends don't stay in your life forever. This is done. Move on from her and try to save your marriage. Agreed. OP is the asshole here in my opinion, because she treats her husband like trash in comparison to how she treats her friend. If my significant other disrespected me like that, I would be reconsidering the relationship way before this party incident happened. Cut this chick out and commit to your husband, OP, or don't be surprised when he leaves you for someone who listens to him. Maria is not your best friend. I say that sincerely as someone else who had best friends my whole life who were similar to Maria. I had a best friend like this who was prettier, funnier, more outgoing, better with men, everything in college. My boyfriend also didn't like her. She also tried to flirt with him. I also worried about this. I was wrong. My boyfriend didn't cheat on me, and it's unlikely your husband cheated on you with her if he dislikes her so much. Much more likely his story is correct that he was hot and took off his shirt. Drinking makes you feel hot on top of having a heater on and sleeping. Listen, as someone who's been through this, put some distance between yourself and Maria. You don't have to cut her out 100%, but maybe take her down to about 20%. But we've been through so much together, you say. Yeah, I know, but what's even better than that is having friends you aren't worried want to steal your husband. Judgment, Maria is an asshole, husband is not the asshole, you are to be determined. Take this as a chance to apologize and move on. If you don't, you would be the asshole here. OP says, thanks. Needless to say, I will increase our distance from Maria. I feel threatened by her, especially since I see her flirting with my husband, and I'm not okay. She does the same thing with most other men, and hence, I always chalked her behavior to this is how she is. I hope what you're saying is true about my husband. I feel the fact that I just can't get it out of my head, and it's been almost 5 days since the incident, makes me very anxious. I've apologized to my husband, and he says it's okay, but I can see that he's still angry at me. I mean, I think if you look at it from his perspective, you might see why he's upset. On a regular basis, he has to hang around someone who he doesn't like. When he brings up to you that she makes him uncomfortable, you write him off, and then you go around and accuse him of sleeping with that person. Honestly, I'd be angry too in that situation. All you can do now is apologize genuinely, explain how Maria makes you feel, and then take the responsibility for how you've acted by actually distancing yourself from her. Yeah, I'm on board with that. I do actually think that's the most plausible situation here. And, while it is possible that there has been an affair going on, I believe the husband. OP has stupidly been putting themselves in a rock and a hard place situation just to, who knows, keep Maria happy? I feel that situations like this are why people need someone that's a third party, like a therapist or a friend that is not involved in this at all, to kind of straighten you out. Someone that you have a conversation with and say, hey, this is what's been going on. My husband isn't really happy, and now I think my husband's cheating. And he's been communicating this with me the whole time, but, I don't think he's being transparent with me. I think he's cheating and lying now. I can absolutely see where your husband is coming from. I feel like he's genuinely gone above and beyond to placate you, to make you happy, so that you're not pissed off at him being like, no, I'm not going around Maria. She's too creepy for me. You're the one that's dropped the ball with communication here, and I feel as though part of that is because you don't even realize that you had such a problem with it until this was the breaking point. I understand that people can be dense and unaware of things like that, but for it to go on for such a long time is frustrating and pisses me off thinking about it. And now, on to the update. I posted about a month ago regarding suspecting my husband and my best friend Maria sleeping together while I was drunk and passed out in another room. A lot happened during the last month, and my mental health is at its lowest due to the betrayals. However, I think that I now know what happened that night. I'm sorry for the long post. So the day after my husband and I stayed at Maria's house for her birthday party, I was unable to shake the feeling that something happened between them. I'm not proud, but I checked my husband's phone and all of his messaging apps. I only found a brief chat between my husband and Maria on Facebook Messenger. Maria thanked my husband for coming to her birthday party and for such a great night. She sent him a photo of them hugging at the end of the night after I was asleep. My husband told Maria that I suspected that something happened between them and asked her to talk to me. Maria told him that she would talk to me. Maria called me the next day and told me that I was crazy and she would never think of doing such a thing to me. She sounded convincing, but I just couldn't shake the gut feeling that something happened. I told her why I suspected them, and she called me crazy and that my head was making stuff up that did not exist. I also mentioned that I saw her photo with my husband after I was asleep, and she should have kept her distance from him. I decided to distance myself from her, as I no longer trusted her as a friend. We also changed the times that we went to the gym so that we don't run into her. After a week or so, she messaged my husband on Facebook Messenger that they should tell me the whole truth. My husband kept on asking her what she was talking about, but she kept on telling him that she felt guilty. My husband came to me and told me that Maria is sending messages to him and he's not sure what she's inferring. He kept on assuring me that nothing happened between them that night. I told him that I read their secret chats on Facebook Messenger. He gaslighted me, calling me insecure, and that Maria was trying to play with my head. I finally decided to go to Maria's house and ask her what was going on. Maria initially kept on saying that she didn't want to talk about it. However, finally she broke down and told me what happened. She told me that during the night of the birthday party, my husband kept on staring at her. After they realized I was too drunk, he took me to the bedroom and again went back to the living room. At this point, he was sitting next to Maria and kept on touching her legs playfully. Maria was also very drunk, and they decided to call it a night in 30 minutes. Maria said that my husband followed her to her room and he started undressing her, and they were intimate together. She told me that she was too drunk to consent to anything and felt like he sexually assaulted her. She kept quiet to keep the peace, but it was bugging her from inside. I asked her if she was sure, as she was too drunk that night, and she said that although she was drunk, she remembers all the details. I confronted my husband, but he still kept on telling me that he was telling the truth, and Maria never liked him and was playing me for a fool. He was so angry at me that he left the house and is currently living in a hotel nearby. He keeps on calling me and asking me to trust him, but I don't know how I can trust him now. I never expected him to do such a thing. Maria has also been trying to talk to me and asking me to be there to support her. However, I don't know if I can look at either one of them. I'm just going to try and cope with the situation and plan to go and live with my parents for a few days until my husband and I agree about our future. I know you all thought that I was crazy in the previous post, but I knew in my gut that something was wrong and never expected my life to suddenly come to this point. In the comments, ALO says, Maria started texting him about coming clean with you after you told her that you're having access to his Facebook account? Coincidence? I don't think so. You're the asshole for having zero trust in your husband and letting Maria manipulate and destroy everything. In your first post, you mentioned that this girl likes drama. Seems to check out. You are conveniently believing Maria over your husband again. As others have mentioned, it's odd that she would thank him for a great night, but then claim to you that she was SA'd. I don't know, seems to me that you'd rather believe the worst in your husband, truth be damned. Her husband has been disliking Maria for years, and suddenly OP believes Maria over her husband? Shit, soon enough he's gonna be tired of her shit or tell her that she can go and enjoy single life with her single friend if that's what she wants. I've been broken up by a jealous friend in the past. It is entirely absurd that someone would try so hard to pull a friend down to their level, and even worse that some people let it happen. If you don't trust your husband, divorce him. He will be better off. Girlie, I'm a victim of SA, so hear it from me. It honestly sounds like your husband didn't do anything. He's not acting like a cheating husband. Sounds to me like Maria wants your husband, tried to make a move, and he rejected her. Either way, I wouldn't believe Maria straight away. Something is just not adding up. The fact that your husband came to let you know Maria is messaging him speaks volumes. The fact that your husband asked Maria what she was talking about speaks volumes. I get it, believe all victims, but it's very obvious Maria is straight up lying. You need to speak to your husband and possibly apologize. Why has she not reported your husband for the SA? Girl, drop your so-called friend and hear your husband out. Trust him like you're trusting your so-called friend in this situation. Don't make hasty decisions. Your husband sounds like the victim more than she does. Maria sounds jealous and sounds like she wanted to break up your marriage, and when she failed, she decided to lie about your husband SAing so you would leave him. Speak to your husband before making any hasty decisions. Yeah, I'm very much on the believe all victims train as well, and my knee-jerk reaction to reading the update was like, oh shit, is this real? Oh my god, I might have to take back what I said back there, but no. It doesn't make any sense. Maria has a history of doing shit like this. Why believe her now, when it's been so obvious that she's been creating problems for you and your husband, and causing drama? She loves the drama. You're an asshole, OP, if you don't apologize and fix things with your husband, that's all I'm gonna say. He deserves better than that. I don't know how you're not putting 2 and 2 together here with Maria, but if there is another update in the future, I hope to God she is out of your life completely and you're on your knees begging for forgiveness from your husband. Our next post is by user Reboots Are Such a Pain, titled, Would I be the asshole? My niece wants my wedding dress and I think I'm going to refuse. So I married 30 years ago and was lucky enough to have a custom-made dress. I was very thin at the time, and the dress design I chose was not typical 90s. Think more Regency-style dress. I stored it away and carried on with my life. I was blessed with sons and 1 daughter. I'll be honest, my daughter is a totally different body shape to me, and I realized when she hit puberty that she would never wear my dress. She has a beautiful hourglass figure, whereas I was a catwalk model thin. My brother has 2 adult daughters. One is built like my daughter, and the other is thinner. This is the one who asked for my dress after she got engaged at Christmas. I don't like this girl. She's immature for a 27-year-old, she's an attention seeker, and is an intentionally unemployed hypochondriac. She's one of those people on Facebook who posts cryptic comments, and when someone inquires what's wrong, she'll respond with, "I'll message you, hun." I dread any family events with her attendance because guaranteed she will become ill at some point, and her mum will have to take her home to find her a room to rest, or talk over the speeches, or demand to dance with the host every time. It gets old. I don't have a close relationship with any of that side, and my husband and kids think that she has Munchausen's. So she sends me a text saying, "Hi auntie, just got engaged and really want to wear your dress for the big day. Have you still got it?" I haven't responded yet. I called my mum asking how niece even knew about the dress, and she said because she told her. Mum said that she offered the dress knowing that it was stored away, and that because niece was on a budget, using my dress would be a great idea. And it's not like your daughter will wear it because she's so large. Oh, that hurt. She is not large. She's got boobs and a butt that women pay good money for. There's a difference. So after laying into my mother about insulting my kid, and then laying into her again for offering something that didn't even belong to her, I hung up. I'm just thinking it's that photo of Taylor Swift and Ice Spice staring at each other. I'm not a sentimental person. I love the dress, but if my daughter wanted to cut it up and use pieces of it, I wouldn't mind. Shit, you should have been the mum for that other post then. I just don't see it on my niece, and I don't want to deal with the drama if I say no. Would I be the asshole if I refused? In the comments, Onyx Dragon Lady said, "Not the asshole here. It's your dress. Also, your daughter could totally add fabric to the dress and wear it herself. Your mum has no right to offer something that wasn't hers. Even if you had no children, the dress is yours. Tell your niece that your daughter and you have plans to alter the dress for her and wish her luck in her dress shopping." The way that she spoke about OP's daughter made me so upset. Also, why is she talking about OP's wedding dress like it's a book that her daughter can check out of a community library? Like, it would be a big ask if they weren't assholes. And they are. Both of them, assholes. Women of that generation don't seem to see the insults they're saying. My mum does that too. My daughter said the next time she calls her fat, she's not small, but she's built like Jessica Rabbit. Oh, she's gonna go off. I encouraged her to do so too. They can't learn if we don't teach them. I don't think it's that they don't see it. I think it's that they've gotten away with it for so long that they just don't think that anyone has a right to do anything other than smile and take it. They don't give a shit. One of my grandmothers was like that, and it was because she was a biatch. Not the asshole. Better respond or she'll claim that you didn't say no, that means that you said yes. Tell her the dress belongs to you, not your mother, and you don't loan it to anyone. Save with screenshots. You don't have to give any response to what comes after that. Maybe add, "and I'm not gifting it to you either, so she can't swing it to say, you only said I couldn't borrow it." And now, onto the update. Thank you for all your comments. They gave me good advice and highlighted things that I hadn't actually thought about. One suggestion was that I should answer back ASAP. That niece may take the silence as no news is good news and imagine that she has permission. I believe she would be the kind of person to post on Facebook, "Thank you, auntie, for giving me your dress," without getting a response. So I texted her back a few hours after her initial text. Next recommendation was to hide the dress, or suggestions my mum had already shown her the dress, so get it back. Luckily, my mum doesn't have the dress at her home, it is in my possession, and it isn't easy to access. You'd have to know where it is to find it. Our home has cameras, but I don't think this niece is that determined. She's very much a, if it's hard work, then I can't be bothered kind of person. I called my daughter and had a conversation regarding what she would like me to do with the dress. She liked the idea of using pieces for her wedding, and maybe making keepsakes for any daughter-in-laws that enter our lives. So that decision has been settled. The latest recommendation was ensure that all interested parties were kept in the loop and made aware of the decision so there is no miscommunication later down the line. So I copied my text response to niece and sent it to my brother and my niece's mother to ensure they all knew. I will tell my own mum when I've calmed down and feel like talking to her again. On to the text. No is a complete answer, but once again, I feel that my mum needed to be called out for her part in all of this. Our mother has a habit of volunteering her family's time and resources to make herself look good. There's a lot of resentment with us kids over this behavior. Hi, niece. Once again, congratulations on the engagement news. I'm so happy for you both. I do still have my dress, but I'm afraid that Nana misled you to believe that my dress was available to be loaned out. My dress has great sentimental value to me, and my daughter will be the only person to have access to it. I'm sure when you contact Nana again, she'll be able to help you find an alternative dress. See you all at Easter, XXX. She texted back immediately, okay, thanks anyway. I copied this message to my brother with a comment, this is for you to deal with in case there is drama. Mum has been trying to play the hero with other people's things again. He hasn't responded yet. So that's it for now. I checked my niece's Facebook page this morning and there was no passive-aggressive memes or comments that I can see about family not supporting her or not being the favorite and that's how she likes it. So hopefully this will blow over. Hopefully. In the comments, XLPager420 says, okay, thanks anyway. That's a mature response. I doubt there will be any drama. It's very uncommon to be gifted a wedding dress by your aunt if you have parents and your aunt has daughters. Surprisingly chill for how she made her niece sound in the earlier post. I had a friend whose mum loved to volunteer others' time and resources. My friend was also delightfully obtuse at the best of moments. Cue my friend stopping by her mum's while friends were visiting, one friend thanking her for whatever her mum volunteered her for, and my friend saying, "What? Mum? Why did you do that again? I told you to ask first." It wasn't malicious, which was the best part. Think about the tone if you handed someone a pastrami sandwich and they said, "Actually, mine's the egg." But her mum was embarrassed to hell and back because no one had ever called her out on the spot, lol. More people should do this, and if the folks like OP's mum pout and go silent, oh no. One thing my hubs told me when we got serious was he hated being volunteered. After 20 years of dealing with mother-in-law, I know why. So I got into the habit of saying, I'll ask him, or hubs may know thing, you can ask him. And we've taught our kids to do the same. My family calls it being voluntold. And my mum used to do it a lot until we called her out by thanking her for voluntelling us. She now asks us rather than telling us, but I remember how frustrating it was for a time. My mum is the same, except she'll decide that you promised and will whine if you don't do what she wants. Last time that I told her no, she promised and she better own up to it because I was not doing a damn thing. I wonder if niece actually wanted it, or if she was being polite after Nana offered it. She didn't seem upset at your no. That's my thoughts. Grandma brought it up, and she just asked out of curiosity, nothing more, nothing less. So I don't know this niece, but my sister-in-law was seen as lazy and a hypochondriac by a lot of people, family and doctors included. After many years, which seems to be the norm with this kind of thing, she finally got multiple serious and underdiagnosed chronic illnesses, including but not limited to endometriosis, POTS, EDS, ADHD. They have affected her life in various ways for a long time, and together make a mishmash of ongoing up and down symptoms. Her treatment by medical professionals and then family members has caused a huge amount of anxiety and self-esteem issues. Just something to think about when calling people hypochondriacs. Am I the asshole for masturbating after my 25 male girlfriend, 26 female, refused sex? Well, yesterday I tried to initiate sex with my girlfriend, but she refused. This has been happening for the last few months, since we've had sex only 2 times in the last 3 months. I tried to convince her and told her that if she didn't want it in the morning, we could do it at night, but when she said no for the second time, I understood that she had no interest in doing anything with me at that time, so I decided to leave and head to work. After a longer day than usual, I arrived home at around 11 p.m. and my girlfriend was asleep. so I decided to sleep on the couch. Already on the couch, I was watching TV to try and relax and sleep. Since I haven't had sex in almost a month, I was a little bit stressed about that too, so I turned off the TV and started to masturbate. Although a few seconds later, my girlfriend came out of the room because she was woken up by the noise of the TV and she caught me in the act. Since I had my eyes closed, I didn't realize until she yelled at me about what I was doing. I told her that I was just in the mood for an orgasm. She yelled at me about being a cheater, looking for pleasure in other women, and asked me if she wasn't enough. I reminded her that in the morning she said she wasn't in the mood and clarified that she wouldn't want anything, and that at night I wasn't looking for her either. I just decided not to bother her. She told me that if I really wanted to have sex, I could insist or just wake her up to have intimacy. I told her that she didn't want to have sex for the last few months, and that I was fine with that, and I didn't need her to do anything that she didn't want to do. She seemed surprised for a few seconds before asking me to go to a hotel that was nearby and then spend the night there. I told her that she was exaggerating the situation and that it was something unimportant in the relationship. She stood firm and told me to leave and come back tomorrow after work. With nothing else to do, I took my backpack with my computer and I left the house. I was upset today at work because of everything that happened, and my boss noticed me distracted. So she asked me what was wrong, and since I trust my boss a lot because she's a woman who has helped me a lot in the past, I told her what happened. And to my surprise, she was on my girlfriend's side. Not totally, but she told me that this was a lack of respect towards my girlfriend and that I was throwing it in her face that she is not enough. I also told my best friend, and she told me that I'm the bad guy because in my last relationship, I was used to being intimate on a daily basis, even more than once a day, and that my girlfriend may have felt pressured to have sex with me during this time, more than she is actually comfortable with. The possible fact that I was almost forcing my girlfriend to have sex during the beginning of our relationship made me nauseous. My girlfriend is not a bad person. She makes a lot more money than me and also has more free time, so she takes care of most of the expenses, the apartment is hers, and at the beginning of our relationship when I was going through a bad financial situation, she asked me to move in with her because she was lonely, even though I know it's because she knows that I couldn't make ends meet. She helps me when she can to make it easier for me to study for my second career, even using her free time to help me to do my work without me asking her to. She's a kind person that everyone loves. I doubt that anyone who knows her could say something bad about her. Since 3 of the women that I respect the most in the world tell me that I'm very bad, I can't help but think that I'm the one who is bad. Today, I don't think I'm going home either. I'm going to give my girlfriend time to think things over. I sincerely believe that she's going to break up with me, and she has every right. I don't know what I expect by posting here, but it's a way to let off some steam. Sorry for the spelling mistakes. English is not my first or second language, and I'm really stressed out. In the comments, Unable Selection says, "You got thrown out for having a wank after months of limited intimacy. She's power tripping, and your boss and best friend are clowns." After months of limited intimacy doesn't even matter in my opinion. We are people with our own needs, desires, and agencies over our bodies. Nobody gets to tell us that we can't have a wank whenever the hell we want to. If your partner masturbating is a deal breaker for someone in a relationship, I would seriously encourage them to have a look at why, because none of that sounds healthy. If wanking too much makes you want to have less sex in the relationship than what your partner needs, then sure, there is a valid conversation to have about why someone would rather wank than be intimate, but it should never be in the form of, as long as you're with me, I can't allow you to wank off. Because that's just straight up controlling for no reason. Wanking off is not shameful. Not the asshole. She is toxic and gaslighting you. You have needs, you didn't force anything, you do you. Literally. Also, move on. Find a partner that doesn't do this shit. Skill issue with setting the volume level of the TV though. OP replies, "I didn't think that she would wake up, since most of the time when I'm up late and she's already asleep, I sleep on the couch and watch TV, and I didn't turn up the volume." You discussing this with a female at work is absolutely risky. Not the asshole. You weren't rolling around on her couch with another woman. You were having an intimate moment with your hand. It's normal, it's natural, and what the hell else does she expect after not having sex with you for more than a couple of times in the last few months? I don't understand women who refuse to have sex with their boyfriends and husbands, but then lose their minds when they find them masturbating. I would rather catch my husband masturbating every single night than out banging other women. Your girlfriend and the other women in your life that you respect so much are wrong. This is the most ridiculous thing that I've heard in a long time. Go home and rub one out on the couch. Keep your eyes open so that you can look her in the face when she catches you. I'm so evil. OP says, thanks for the first part of the comment, but lol for the second part. Come back and let us know how it goes. OP says, if you want an update, you'll get it, but I doubt I'll be doing anything on the couch in this apartment. And now, onto the update. Well, this publication reached further than I thought. Not at the level of great publications of this platform, but it had more interactions than I thought. Thank you all for your advice and help. I really appreciate it. It's amazing to see so many perspectives and opinions. Also, to the people who called me an asshole, even if they were not many, and it was mainly by message, I think I have to clarify some things about the previous post. If you want to just read the update, you can skip this part. First of all, I love my girlfriend. She is the person that I have loved the most in all my life. We've been together for a little more than 4 years, and in all the relationship, I've not been able to find more than a slight problem or fight that was solved quickly. Many people have told me that she's a manipulator, and she wants to control me, and also that she's a cheater, using not very nice words towards her. Well, you're all wrong about her, and you will see later. Second, my girlfriend earns more money than me. Yes, she does a lot for me. And no, I clarified in some comments that basically my girlfriend pays her college loan and the house payments. The rest I take care of. She still spends more, but since she's paying for the apartment that she bought, I can't help her, mainly because she's proud and does not let me. If you're interested, she currently earns a little more than double what I earn, although this was not always so. She was promoted at work, and I changed about 2 years ago to learn some more of my second career. Since everyone pays their debts, we have never had a problem regarding money. Thirdly, I tried to talk to my girlfriend about this for the 3 months that this problem lasted, but she always avoided the subject or changed it. I took her to surprise appointments, got her flowers, sent drawings of her to her work, etc. I also want to clarify that we do not belong to any religion. Her family is Christian, but we are both atheists. Fourth, I did talk to men about it, although I didn't tell them the whole story. The only people I told the whole truth to was my boss and best friend. That's why it weighs so much on me. I trust them both completely, and I consider them more like family than strangers. I think I was wrong. I wrote this with the emotion of the moment. So after sleeping the second night away from home, I'm now much calmer reading all the comments and reviewing the story in my head. I realize that they both don't see me in the same way that I see them. They are important friends to me, but on the other hand, I doubt they consider me their friend. A friend does not make you feel like you are an RAPIST. Fifth, 2 girls told me by message that they should put me in prison for what I tried to convince. I think I explained myself wrong. By tried to convince, I mean trying to start a second time. Literally, the conversation was, I really want to be with you, my love. Is there anything that you want to do? And she said no, and the conversation ended there. I understand that my words were misinterpreted, and I apologize for that. Now to the update. I would like to say that this is a happy update, but it's not. Well, today, I decided to skip work and went to my apartment, and when I got there, my girlfriend was there. You could tell that she was crying. She looked at me, and we just hugged for a while. When we separated, she started apologizing and saying that she shouldn't have said that, and she never meant to say that I was a cheater. I had planned to ask some questions that I got from the comments, but first I just asked her why everything. She came closer to me and hugged me as if she didn't want to let go, and started crying very hard. It was the most heartbreaking cry that I've ever heard in my life. I didn't know what to do. I was very clear about what I wanted to tell her, but hearing her cry like that, I can't even breathe. After what seemed like hours, she separated from me and went to the room in silence. I was about to follow her, but I decided to give her space. I heard how she opened a drawer, and then she came back with some papers in her hand and walking very slowly, as if she had a lot of weight on her. And when she arrived, she sat down on the sofa in front of me and extended the papers to me. I took it and read them. They were medical exams from 3 months ago. I read them without understanding until I got to an underlined part that said, "total incapacity to have children." Reading those words froze me, and my girlfriend realized my reaction and started to cry again. She tried to stand up, but I pulled her into a hug and held her while she cried. To be honest, the cheating option doesn't sound so bad right now. I wasn't too sure about having children because I don't know if I would be a good father. But on the other hand, my girlfriend, whenever she sees a child, seems to become a ray of sunshine. Children love her. I've seen babies leave their mother's side to follow my girlfriend. From the beginning, she said that when she was 28, she wanted to have her first child. She talked about their names and what she expected from them. To see that happiness being taken away from her is something that I never want to experience again. After a long time hugging her until she calmed down, she started to talk. She said she didn't tell me because she was afraid that I would leave her, that during the last few months, she was ignoring the news. But when having sex, she couldn't stop thinking about the fact that she could never be a mother. This led her to feel very insecure about herself. That when she saw me masturbating, she felt useless and got angry with herself and exploded. She felt bad for not feeling well enough to have sex and that it only increased when I made an effort to please her. I let her talk, even though it was not necessary, but I still wanted to make it clear that I would listen to her. I told her that she would never be insufficient for me, that I love her, and I asked her forgiveness for not realizing her bad state and that something bad was happening with her. Although she says that she herself ignored it and was not aware of the pain that this caused her, I cannot stop blaming myself for not realizing it. I told her that we would begin to take individual therapy. At the beginning, this was a proposal to save the relationship, but I think it's more important to heal ourselves first. We are both very badly emotional. When we are better, we can go to couples therapy. She just accepted and let me keep caressing her. That day, none of us went into work, and I ordered her favorite food from home. I stayed with her all the time. We both needed a hug. Now she's asleep, so I can write this. I really wish the update was me finding out that she was unfaithful and planned revenge. It would be much less destructive than seeing the woman you love lose one of her dreams. I don't think I'll update this story for a while, unless something relevant happens, and I need advice. I want to focus on helping my girlfriend. I wasn't sure about having kids, but I knew if it were to happen, I knew that I wanted it to be with her. We will both start therapy this weekend. I called her work to ask for time off for a personal circumstance. They were very nice and didn't ask why. Then I called mine and asked for the same thing and to be moved to another branch. The senior boss is a nice old man who can be trusted and told me that it was okay. I won't talk to either my friend or my boss again. My friend tried to talk to me today, but when I got her call, I blocked her number. My girlfriend doesn't know about this post or what I talked about with my friends, and I don't think she'll tell her. She would want to know what they thought of her, and it wouldn't be good. Thank you all for your advice and support. Sorry for the mistakes. I don't have the head to write well, so most of this will be translated from Italian to English. Sorry if it reads weird. In the comments, Fitwork4558 says, when you both go through therapy, you can speak to her about adoption. It's a long process, but it's a possibility. Or if the issue is her uterus and not her eggs, you can get a surrogate if you really wanted a blood-related child. I'm assuming it's costly, but I haven't looked it up, so you would have to do your own research. Best of luck to you. Jumping on what some others have said, there's a lot of ways to be a parent. My mom had medical issues, and after several miscarriages and finding out that she couldn't have kids, they adopted me. When my wife and I first started trying to have kids, things weren't happening. Eventually, we realized we needed medical intervention. We started the tests, and there was a me problem. After further trying without success, they did more testing, and there was also a her problem. In the end, we used donor eggs, and she was able to carry our twins. But for 10 years, as my family and her family, siblings and cousins and friends, all got pregnant, it was an emotional battlefield. Every time someone else announced a pregnancy or a second pregnancy, she just fell apart. So no matter what you decide to do about kids going forward, she's going to have a hard time for a long time, and she's going to need you to help keep her spirits up and keep going sometimes. And you're going to need help sometimes too. Like others have said, therapy, therapy, therapy. Good luck and the best to you both. Why don't you know if you would be a good father? Because dude, if you have a good reason to think that you'll be an unfit parent, it's probably better to be honest about it to your girlfriend now. She might feel bad because of that news, and I understand that you don't want to hurt her, but she will feel way worse if you spring it upon her in the future when you have the opportunity to have a child. Through adoption, medical help, or whatever, or if you're a shit dad to your kid. OP says, just like she from the beginning said that she wanted to be a mother, I told her that I wasn't sure. To be a good parent, you must have an example to follow. In my case, I would just be doing whatever I think is right, and I might spoil my son for not wanting what I do. She understands that, and said that we would talk about kids later. But unfortunately, this situation forced us to talk about it, and clearly I will address that in therapy. I'm glad this has a potentially positive outcome, but I confess I'm stuck on the fact that OP discussed his masturbatory habits with his female boss. I could see it. I've had bosses in the past that I probably could have talked to like that. Not my current boss, though. The friend and the boss were so over the line that I would be blocking them both too. Since when is masturbation cheating? I'd be effing relieved if my partner was whacking himself off instead of having some girl bounce about on him. She's lucky that he never left her for that behavior. Unfortunately, it's not exactly uncommon. I've had dates with a few women who expressed that sentiment. It baffled me that they so casually thought controlling what I did with my body was okay. That is crazy. It's your body. As long as it's just you, then it's not cheating. If someone tried to tell me what to do with my body, they wouldn't like my reply.